This is our protagonist, Korin Locke. For some reason, just 3 seconds ago he had stabbed to death the main character, who was also his closest friend. So the responsibility to save the world and defeat the demon lord fell on him. It all goes back 3 years when he suddenly woke up and discovered he had been transported into a game called Arhan's Legend of Heroes. It's about a trainee with countless dangerous events happening to him, and those dangerous events keep occurring without end. Eventually, the apocalypse of that world arrives, and this is still a story that continues on. After assessing the situation, he was relieved, because in the story the protagonist will take care of everything. The character he'd slipped into was an NPC named Korin Locke. This character's role is to hand out beginner quests where the protagonist will save all the villagers. If things proceeded according to the original plot, everything would be resolved. So he went out to explore and to look for the main character, Park Sihu. He eventually found him, but then when he heard the protagonist muttering things like sweet potatoes and Sprite, he realized that Park Sihu was actually a player of this role-playing game. So the two of them began to cooperate. The difference between them was that Park Sihu was granted the player's privilege A status window. But there was one problem: Park Sihu had never played this game before. But with Korin's experience as someone who had played through all the chapters and knew every route, he easily guided Park Sihu. So they teamed up to finish the game. Korin had all the game's information, while Park Sihu had the status window and the player system. Together they were the perfect pair. With Park Sihu at his side, he was sure they could save many people, stop the apocalypse, and then return to their world. But one thing that deeply disappointed Korin was that their party was all men. The appeal of this game, including the fantasy elements, the variety of heroic legends, and even the romantic subplots. Park Sihu had no connections to any women, he only added them to the party when needed. Over time, it became all men. But there was something he should have realized earlier. When the Sword Emperor's granddaughter died on the way to the memorial, when Mariette disappeared during the final battle of the first stage, and the mysterious deaths and disappearances, events that weren't in the game's original storyline. More importantly, Park Sihu's way of thinking, his personality, his true nature. Korin should have been at least a little suspicious of him. The truth was revealed when Korin accidentally discovered a mysterious underground chamber. Mariette Dunilif was a heroine in the game, but neither he nor Park Sihu had ever met her because she had gone missing. Yet now her magic staff was displayed in a glass case before him. Seeing this, Korin cursed under his breath, "Park Sihu, that bastard. He sneaks out every night, so I followed him all the way here. But how could a place like this exist underground? It's as if this is his storage room." Then he found a sword. It was an item lost when another heroine, Alicia, disappeared. Not only that, but many other items were there. All the belongings of the missing characters accumulated during their playthroughs were gathered here. And what surprised Korin even more was Mariette Dunilif's body, which was placed inside a glass tank. While Korin was still staring at the scene, a voice sounded from behind. "Damn, I've been found out. What are you doing here?" Those words came from Park Sihu. Hearing them, Korin spun around angrily and demanded, "What's going on here? You said you were chasing Mariette and lost her trail, didn't you?" She's a demon anyway. Do you want to waste the blood of a high-level vampire? I'm just making proper use of it. You already drank some of it." Those words made Korin's face go pale. Then he remembered he had once taken a healing potion Park Sihu had handed him. Imagining that what he'd drunk was the blood of a vampire made him nauseous. When he angrily asked, "Why would you do that?" Park Sihu replied, "Of course it's to complete the storyline more efficiently. Your playstyle is exhausting, always worried about saving people, then losing. Why not just kill those Lark and Jur Jaeger guys outright? You keep protecting people we can't control, even if you raise friendship points with them. It's better to use them like this. Listen up, I'm much better at this game than you." At that moment, Korin learned the truth. From the start, this main character had been lying. He wasn't a newbie. And when he learned the man needed only 3 more kills to reach 100,000 deaths, Korin realized clearly, this guy was no longer human. But faced with Korin's rage, Park Sihu only said, "Wake up, they're just NPCs. You've killed a few too. The ones I killed were irredeemable beast-like monsters. They were trying to annihilate the world." "What do you mean efficient? You disappoint me." "If you're obsessed with efficiency, then why are you using an Odachi? Why does a mage take a knight's shard? And what's wrong with using ordinary potions? You can create them easily via the character window. So why did you create this damn place, Park Sihu?" Hearing that, Park Sihu's expression flipped. "You need a wake-up call for your pathetic urge to balance society." Saying that, he reached out his hand and shoved Korin's head straight into the glass tank behind him. "I'm going crazy. After everything I've done for you, don't talk to me in that tone. All I think about is you. I should be your reason for living. I am your world, yet you don't know your place, sticking your nose into others' business. All you care about are those people. I won't hold back anymore. Park Seo-hoo's words confused Korin. He didn't understand what the bastard was saying. Then he grew frightened and hurriedly stepped back. You aren't that kind of character. We've gone through 199 chapters together. Why suddenly change genres like this? But to that, Park Seo-hoo replied coldly, I've eliminated every character who stood in the way, all for our future. The others are just surface level, don't worry about them. You're the only one I love. Those words scared Korin so much he punched him in the face. In his head he thought, this perverted bastard terrifies me, I don't even have a girlfriend yet. With that thought, he turned and ran. But before Korin could get very far, he was bound by purple tentacles like sticky rice cakes. You won't escape me, I will bind you forever. Inside this fabricated world, you are the only real thing, everything will end soon. Once it ends, we'll be together forever. As he spoke, he began to dissolve. At that moment, Korin was also bound in some kind of space. Suddenly, a notification screen appeared before him. The final chapter is opening. Seeing this, he thought, it's starting. That guy always handles everything himself. I'm sure the final boss won't be a problem for him. Once he finishes the final boss, damn, what will happen to me? While he was still thinking about the life he'd have to live with this lunatic, another notification rang out. Player has died. Quest failed. That message left Korin speechless. That bastard actually lost. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself awake in bed. The scene was identical to 3 years ago when he first crossed over. Taking in the familiar sight, he clenched his hands and tears began to fall. I have to kill that bastard. Park Seo-hoo, I have to kill that player. His words were full of rage and murderous intent. The dam break incident in the river monster subquest, the dam suddenly burst, sweeping away an entire village. Thousands of water monsters and thousands of innocent people drowned. At such a horrific sight, Park Seo-hoo laughed as if it were a bountiful harvest. At the time, I didn't understand why that bastard was so gleeful. Thinking back now, despite the dozens who died, his only concern was the experience it yielded. That damn demon, I could stop him right now. Right now, he's only level 5 like me. All the factors that make a player stronger are at Merkaba Academy. After entering the academy, he'll grow much stronger. He's not a monster yet, but it's uncertain how fast he'll develop once he's in the academy. The enrollment ceremony is in 5 days. In other words, the only way to kill Park Seo-hoo is right now. At this time, Park Seo-hoo was also on a tutorial quest. The carriage heading to Merkaba City had been ambushed by forest monsters. Protect the people and the guards until it's repaired. Now the quest was nearly complete. It was just a few pesky monsters, so they could handle them easily. The girl even praised Park Seo-hoo, pretty talented for a newcomer, making him bashful thanks. At that moment, the driver announced the carriage had been repaired, and they could depart. But quests never finish that easily. Just when you think it's almost over, something always pops up. Sure enough, a monstrous scream echoed, drawing the two of them's attention. Then a log flew at them like a rocket. The knight hurriedly shoved his comrade out of the way. Fortunately, both were unharmed, but they grew anxious. Because their opponent was a werewolf, a rank 2 monster. This werewolf, facing the group, began roaring as if rabid. Hidden in the forest, Korin witnessed the scene. Damn, it's starting. I ran as fast as I could, but I couldn't stop it. If I'd had time to prepare, I could have saved them. The werewolf then attacked. With a single strike, it felled the female knight. Seeing this, the knight turned to Park Seo-hoo and said, quick, get on the carriage. I'll buy you time. Go on, I'll follow behind, Park Seo-hoo told the driver. But the driver chose to stay and fight because he couldn't leave the knight alone. As a result, the group was quickly facing a near-raid wipe. The knight named Leon was also felled by the monster. While Korin kept watching, he needed to confirm before intervening. Is this Park Seo-hoo really the world-saving hero or just another player like me? The werewolf, seeing it had wiped out 2 of them, began howling in celebration. But just as it was mid-celebration, the remaining female swordswoman lunged in to attack. Unfortunately, her strike was easily blocked by the creature with one hand. Tension rose, the two just hadn't been able to inflict any real damage. Back off, I'll handle this, she told Park Seo-hoo. This girl was the second daughter of the Aiden family, wielder of the Odachi, one of the 6 kingly swords. The most influential member of the party and a named character. Her full name was Alicia Aiden. While Alicia was still locked in a tense duel with the monster, Park Seo-hoo slowly drew a dagger from his pocket. Taking advantage of her distraction, he stabbed her in the back. I've been waiting for this moment, he said with a cold face. Seeing that, Korin could finally be sure this was a bastard player, not any kind of hero. Alicia looked bewildered, not understanding why a teammate would stab her. Why? But to her question, he brazenly lied. Sorry, I panicked and slipped. Alicia began to grow dizzy. His dagger had been poisoned beforehand. The werewolf couldn't pass up an opening like that. Seeing the two bickering and stabbing at each other, it surged like a storm at Alicia. Korin also understood why Park Seo-hoo did it. If Alicia died on the quest, he'd claim the Odachi. Then he'd get into Lunia Aiden's team, a legendary Holy Blade. Park Seo-hoo seemed surprised she could still fight. She's poisoned but still not dead. Is she a key NPC in the plot? But because of the poison, she began to be pushed back by the monster. With no other choice, she prepared to gamble everything on a single strike. Calm, focus, focus, she murmured, then closed her eyes to reach maximum concentration. When she opened her eyes again, she unleashed her ultimate move. Absolute Blade Sever. She funneled all her energy into her sword. Park Seo-hoo in the back realized, at this level, Alicia could definitely kill the monster on her own. So how could he just let that happen? So he pulled out a dagger and threw it at Alicia, forcing her to hurriedly block with her sword. But at that moment, the werewolf's jaws were already inches from her head. At the brink of death, she reversed her sword and plunged it through the monster's throat. But she was completely exhausted and couldn't move afterward. Park Seo-hoo achieved his goal. Seeing her collapse, he slowly stepped forward and picked up her sword. The Rodachi obtained. This thing only works with special skills. What now? Ah, right, killing NPCs gives experience too, doesn't it? His face clearly showed his murderous intent. Alicia looked utterly desperate. Her life was essentially over. Just as Park Seo-hoo smiled and prepared to strike her, a pouch of powder was thrown from somewhere and exploded right in front of him. What the hell is this? Who the hell did that? Show yourself, he cursed as he began scanning the area for whoever had thrown the pouch. At that moment, a pack of one-horned rabbits charged at him. The reason was that the powder pouch was made from top-end mushrooms, a favorite food of the forest monsters. They were coated in a dense dust. So to the beasts, Park Seo-hoo looked like a juicy piece of meat covered in a special sauce. While that bastard was busy dealing with the monsters, Korin dragged Alicia out. Thank God she's still breathing. As he began pulling her away, he took notice of the creature. An idea formed in his mind. Korin then used his dagger to pry out one of its fangs. By then, Park Seo-hoo had finished handling the monsters. Damn, who the hell are you? Killed 3 horned rats in no time, impressive, huh? Having said that, Korin slowly stood and turned toward Park Seo-hoo. I am Korin Lok. Park Seo-hoo asked in surprise, how did you get here? His question revealed something. This bastard had no memory of the previous time. All the better, Korin thought, then smiled. Hey, you'll hurt yourself if you keep holding that sword like that. He said that just to deceive him. The idiot actually believed it and looked down at his sword. Seizing the opportunity, Korin stepped forward and threw a handful of sand into his face. The sand temporarily blinded Park Seo-hoo. You bastard, die, he cursed as he swung wildly. Those wild swings posed no real threat to Korin. He's clumsy with the sword, but he swings fast. Physically, Park Seo-hoo's still ahead of me. Might as well take the risk, there's no other choice, he thought, drawing the fang he'd taken from the wolf earlier, and made a near-throat strike at Park Seo-hoo, terrifying him. Right, this fang knife looks like nothing, but a stab to the neck still kills as usual. Dodge that, keep your eyes on the fang, he thought as he kept up the assault. With the light weapon's advantage, his strikes came like a storm. Yeah, just watch the fang. Now Korin was about to land the finishing blow. He thrust the fang right up to Park Seo-hoo's face, forcing him to hurriedly block with his sword. But that was only a feint. The real attack was the dagger in his left hand. Sure enough, Park Seo-hoo was taken by surprise, but his sword was pinned by the fang. Korin succeeded in driving the dagger into his right shoulder. He screamed like a pig being slaughtered when he took the blow. But before he could scream for long, Korin struck again with the fang. The result was a throat slash. He was officially out of the game. After killing that bastard, Korin didn't forget to leave a few parting words. To my past self, thanks for everything. I have to admit you made me stronger. Even so, I don't regret doing this, because I've cut out the seed of a monster. Then a notification popped up. Player dead, calculating anomalies in the main storyline, initiating backup world inspection. Transforming, Korin Lok running trial, running potential, running cognition, running compatibility, running player log, transferring previous players' experience to hero Korin Lok, converting minimal backup reserves for storyline collapse and baseline stats. Begin running substitute player program Korin Lok AAA class knight, inheritor of substitute player Korin Lok's martial skills. Seeing the notification window, Korin was surprised. A substitute player, does that mean I'll have a stat window now? Just as Korin was lost in thought, a cough reminded him back to attention. The cough came from Alicia. Her condition was growing critical. So he ran over. Hey, are you okay? She was in bad shape. She couldn't see anything right now, but at least she still had enough strength to speak. Korin began checking her symptoms. You're dizzy and can't smell anything, right? Your ears are ringing too, right? How did you know? Okay, that covers everything. Add the slurred speech. It seems to be poison from the XCH plant. From the tutorial zone, without a stat window, it's hard to craft this toxin. If it had been mixed a bit stronger, she'd be dead. Lucky break. But the werewolf's fang was still embedded in her. She was still in critical condition. We need to stop the bleeding and detoxify her quickly. With that, he took off his belt and used it to bind Alicia's shoulder. The pain made her flinch. It's okay, I'm an expert at bleeding control and detox. Don't worry. There was one concern: if she accidentally bites her tongue, it's over. Thinking about what to use, he looked down at the hand of that bastard Park Sihu. A disgusting idea crossed his mind, but there wasn't time for hesitation. So he put the dead man's hand into her mouth and said, "Bite down, you'll feel a lot of pain, so bite as hard as you can." Dead people don't feel pain anyway, and this is that bastard's corpse. A few more bites won't matter. Then Korin began treatment. First, he worked to remove the fang. I still don't get why I was sent back 3 years, but I'm back now and I've killed the player. And those who died in my previous life are still alive. Right now, I've saved one person, that's enough. After a while, the bleeding was controlled and the fang removed. Now he was sitting down to brew an antidote. Hang on, I'm making the antidote. Don't worry, humans aren't that easy to kill. In a haze, Alicia still tried to ask her savior's name. Please tell me your name. Korin placed a cloth on her forehead and said, "No need, don't think about it, just rest. When the antidote is ready, I'll wake you." He acted this way because he'd decided, from now on he would operate in the shadows. The fewer people who knew about him, the better. While waiting for the antidote, he began re-evaluating the plot situation of the legendary hero of Arhan. As the title suggests, this is a story about a hero. While dealing with incidents occurring inside the academy, the player will become the hero and save the world. The hero will defeat countless monsters and take down the final boss. A rotten piece of trash like Park Sihu still has to follow the script, because if the final boss isn't defeated, the world will be destroyed. But now that guy's dead, so who will take on that role? Who else besides me? But these bastards, if they want me to do something, they could at least do it properly, Korin thought. Because at that moment, a glaring red notice appeared before him. System window, access denied. No window access makes me no different from an ordinary person. What kind of crappy substitute player is this? I become a substitute player but can't use player support tools. I was so hyped for this and it turns out like this. It's really hard to do anything in the future with just memories from a past life. I have to use elements outside the system to pull this off. After 3 years of training, I'm no longer an heir or a backup anymore. Thinking that, he drew a circle with strange symbols inside. As soon as he finished, the circle flared to life, and a burst of flames rose from it. Just as expected, it worked, Korin muttered. This was a type of magic he'd learned in his past life. Ancient worms script old characters that contain power within them, obligations that restrain oaths. They're known as the Triad of Command Runes. They're one of the powerful laws governing this world, the source of human power and the root of destruction. He intended to inscribe them on his body, and the first of them was the duty of command. This command boosts the caster's power when they make a vow. You can make trivial vows like, "I won't eat chicken," but because they're so easy, they barely grant any stat points. Still, even if they're easy, he needed to swear something he could absolutely keep. After carving the runes on his left arm, he began reciting his vow. "I will not feign ignorance to greedily seize the treasures of the righteous." Immediately, a notification popped up. Duty: I will not feign ignorance to greedily seize the treasures of the righteous. Your stats will increase when you complete the task. A chain suddenly appeared beside his heart, as if to symbolize the binding of his oath. Another notification appeared. Failure to comply will incur a penalty of -10 stats. Next, Korin bit his finger to write the next rune onto his right arm, and it was restriction. I do not perceive spirits in this world. All things have their own clairvoyance, and there are also spirit forms and bodiless ghosts. Because spirit forms can only interact through mutual perception, they can't use their power to affect things that can't sense them. In short, those ghosts can only affect those who see or feel them. If they can't be seen or perceived, then they're doomed and can do nothing. As soon as he completed this rune, 2 alerts appeared. If you do not comply, you will suffer 600% of the enemy's damage. Activate damage limitation for spirit forms, physical damage plus 50%. And the benefit for him if he followed the injunction was that the rune became a shield protecting him from all other spirit forms. And now, the last one was the commandment oath. This commandment uses the weight of the vow as defense, but carries great risk and great reward. That's why both Park Sihu and he used it in their previous lives. But even Park Sihu, who could use everything the system offered, failed at the final boss. If that's the case, I have a lot to worry about. The heaviest oath to make: I will save this world. It's the noble goal every warrior pursues, the vow with the greatest ambition. Thus the Triad of Commandments was complete. Chains began to wrap around his heart. A yellow notification appeared. Duty, restriction, oath. All commandments will be applied to the substitute player. If you fail to fulfill the oath, death will be unavoidable. 2 days later, Alicia woke up and found herself in a hospital. Oh, you're awake. How are you feeling? The voice belonged to a nurse. Where am I? You're at Merkaba City Hospital. After a bit of conversation, Alicia learned that the person who brought her to the hospital had just left. And when Alicia turned to look for her belongings, she discovered Corin's belt. Looking at the belt in her hand, it was still stained with blood. After seeing the belt, she suddenly turned to the nurse and asked, "Is there anywhere that sells honey candy? I can only handle broth right now. I don't get this girl." The first thing she asks for after waking up is candy. 3 days later, the newbie quests began. At that time, Merkaba Academy's opening ceremony was underway. Corin was standing at the academy gate. "Let's see, you need a student ID to enter." Saying that, he began rifling through his wallet. He found a letter inside his wallet. "To my son, you have no idea how proud I am of you. Be a protector to those around you." The letter was written by his mother. "When did she put this in here?" Corin muttered. Corin Locke was an ordinary, inept child, but he still had a family. "When I first came into this body, I acted awkward and distant, but they treated me the same as before. And that's when I began to love this family and this world more. That's the difference between me and Park Sihu." At the train station near the academy, students jostled to find their way. A pretty blue-haired girl waved them over. "Hello, new students, gather here." "You're a new student too. I'm Corin Locke. Wow, you're tall, you must eat well." "Want a potato?" She smiled as she handed Corin a potato. I've never seen a girl offer someone a potato on the first meeting. A little later, she led him on a tour and introduced each building. "That's the Architect Hall where magic students gather and study." This girl was no ordinary student. She was Mariette Dunlop, a second-year student, head of Merkaba Academy, beloved by all and with a bright future. In life, people encounter many unforeseen misfortunes, and in the future, Mariette will face a great misfortune. She is the Stage 1 final boss. After a while, her orientation for the new students ended. Before parting, she advised, "Each of you take 1 potato and 1 sweet potato." Then she boarded her train. "Good luck, see you later." She was truly a very warm person. After that, all the students were gathered in the academy hall. While the students were still chatting, a magic array appeared above their heads. Then all the lights went out, causing everyone to grow anxious. "Don't be afraid. Why are the academy students getting spooked by this thing?" When Corin heard that voice, he immediately knew it was old Heyman. He always says that like a training drill. This world has a history of fighting demonkind. The most effective weapons against them are superhumans who can use aura or mana, and the place to train those people is Merkaba Warrior Academy. At that moment, another voice sounded from the darkness. "Hello, I am Professor Fermac Damon, in charge of this year's opening ceremony." He was a professor in the Knight department. He continued, "Most of you are here to become knights or mages. When you arrived, your certifications were already delivered. But don't be all bark and no bite. Let me see what you're capable of." After he spoke, a system panel appeared before everyone. Corin saw his own system panel. Corin Locke, Aura rank 680 low, Mana rank 120 very low, Ability none very low, Overall rank 6th very low. Looking at those stats, Corin sighed without speaking. "My ability score is shockingly low." After everyone checked their ranks, the professor above said, "You're looking at your rank. Stand in front of the number that matches your rank." There were numbers from 1 to 6 at his feet. Everyone quickly gathered into lines in front of their numbers. After the professor said, "Good luck," all the students began to vanish. Elsewhere, all the professors were also observing this year's students. There are a lot of hidden talents here. No need to rate first and second place now. Let's wait until we've evaluated the others. These words came from a beautiful woman, the granddaughter of sword prodigy Alicia Aiden, a cleric of Avaloan, a druid, Yule, and the sword-controlling mercenary Drinwarski, the golem engineer Kranal Ludin, and the soul number 1, Heaven Knight Demon H. Warren. That child actually enrolled. What was the headmaster thinking? Over here, another teacher voiced an opinion. "Do we even need to test the 6th rank students? 5th rank isn't great, just eliminate the 6th rank outright." His remark angered the female professor. She snapped a black whip. The headmaster said, "Every student has the right to learn. Do you dare go against that?" The outburst made him break into a sweat. "No choice then, let's begin." He snapped his fingers. Then a cabinet dropped down in front of the students. It was the weapons cabinet. An announcement sounded, "Monsters will flood in within 30 minutes. Please defeat as many monsters as possible." So this is a test. Put students into a defense zone and make them fight monsters by level. Tough stuff, Corin muttered. Thinking that, he still began choosing a weapon. Let's see, most 5th or 6th rank students won't think much and will just grab whatever they want. Most will pick swords. I did the same in my past life. At that moment, the monsters were summoned. There were 3 wolves in total. They were short-bodied hunting dogs, RK5 monsters. Facing the appearance of these monsters, Korin took a stance. Swords look cool. As they say, 100 days to use a spear, 1,000 days to use a blade, and 10,000 days to use a sword. The answer is the spear. Saying that, he threw the spear in his hand at them. One of them instantly went down, to the stunned looks of its packmates. And while they were still in shock, 2 more spears streaked toward them. This was as easy as eating porridge for Korin, because he had so much experience. It took Korin about 20 seconds to kill the 3 of them. But in his previous life, he couldn't even kill these and was taken down by those hunting dogs. This time will be different. He'll kill every one of them until he ranks up. But 5 minutes after killing the wolves, nothing happened. Could the system be broken? Meanwhile, in the observation room, the teachers were still evaluating the students. Tusk, they can't even finish off those things. What are they good for? Back in the day, I could kill level 5 monsters in 1 minute 22 seconds. If level 5 was like that, I don't expect anything from level 6. At that, he turned his attention to a sphere. But the image reflected in the orb was Korin sitting there leisurely playing. What? The monsters weren't summoned, must be a bug. After saying that, he summoned a few monsters for Korin to continue playing with. What he didn't know was that the moment he turned away, Korin had already defeated those monsters instantly. Is this the first successful person? Only took 7 minutes and 22 seconds. I thought level 3 would only take 2 or 3 minutes, so what are levels 5 and 6 doing? After saying that, when he looked back at the orb, he found Korin just sitting there. What's wrong with that bastard? Why is he yawning again? Is the system broken? The monsters should always be summoned. At that moment, a burly man spoke up. Broken? No way. For 20 years, Professor Josephine's experimental magic has never been wrong, but he should have been eliminated long ago. Clearly, the monsters weren't summoned. The burly man began to doubt. You saw that the monsters weren't summoned? No, I don't need to see that stuff. So you didn't see it happen? My god, I told you it was a bug. I'll summon them again. When Korin saw the wolves reappear, he started to get annoyed. It's been nothing but these monsters since earlier. You're not even worth training dogs. As he spoke, he grabbed 3 spears at once and threw them at the pack, sending 3 of them to the sky immediately. It all took only 7.3 seconds. The sight left the 2 teachers outside with their mouths agape. Look, Professor Firmek, what's going on? What about it? What's the fastest time you've recorded for level 3 and level 4? There was a kid named Jaeger who did it in 3 minutes 30 seconds. Then he asked, anything else? Judging by how he throws those spears, he must be the son of a hunter. Saying that, he summoned a boar level 4 monster. But just 3.7 seconds later, it was on the ground. He then summoned an owlbear, a level 3 monster. This creature could actually take a few more hits. The moment it saw Korin, it roared in fury and launched an attack, but Korin dodged. Korin then drove a spear into its flank. Angered by the blow, it swung with its left paw, knocking Korin back. But at that moment, he activated his ancient rune magic and turned it into a roasted cake. 2 teachers outside witnessed the scene and cried out in astonishment. Ancient rune magic. Those words drew the attention of the other instructors. Inside, the fight continued. Though the owlbear had been set aflame, it was still very tough. It seemed that burning it with fire didn't do much, but at least it limited the creature's vision. Seizing the opportunity, Korin took a running jump up high and drove the spear's tip straight into its head. The 2 teachers outside couldn't believe their eyes. That kid is definitely not a regular level 6. It's a shame the monster test only goes up to level 3. It's been a long time since we've seen someone this interesting. I can't wait to see him fight a demon. The smaller teacher then began to summon a demon to conduct a level 5 demon test. At that moment, Korin could sense that something had definitely been summoned, but he couldn't see or hear it. It's all due to the restriction penalty. I can't sense or touch souls. If that's the case, it means he can't touch the demon. To be sure of this, he simply waited. For about a minute, more than a minute, nothing happened. And Korin confirmed that the restriction had been activated. Since he couldn't touch the demon, Korin abandoned that test. 2 notification boards appeared. Demon test, rank 5 draw, rank 4 fail, rank 3 fail. Monster test, level 5 hunting dogs, 7.3 seconds. Level 4 boar, 3.7 seconds. Level 3 owlbear, 11 seconds. Back in the gathering hall, everyone was showing off their rankings. Then Korin spotted someone he knew. This burly guy used to be Jaeger Hinchpatter. He was the one who started the fight with the player at the beginning of the story. And Park Seo killed him simply because he provoked him. Although Jaeger was arrogant and a bit careless, that's normal for someone his age. Anyway, that lunatic. Next, Korin glanced at another acquaintance. It was a small kid, whose name was Lark. In the past, he met the same fate as Jaeger. Suddenly, a voice echoed throughout the great hall. Good morning, everyone. I am Headmaster Iryu Kasar. You have joined the academy to become stronger, a gathering place for the powerful. Some of you are already strong, others still have a long way to go. While I cannot guarantee you'll achieve everything you want here, I hope you'll find your own path. We're here to help you take the first correct steps. From the second step onward, that's your responsibility. That is all. Have a pleasant day. That was the headmaster's familiar speech. He gives that same speech every monster test. As Korin wandered around, he happened to see Jaeger bullying Lark. This is his chance. So Korin cheerfully went over and slung an arm around Jaeger's shoulders. Hey man, your tattoo is badass. Your tattoo artist must be great, right? It still looks good up close. The one on the back is your blood type, isn't it? So you can get a quick transfusion if you get hurt. You planned ahead. As he spoke, Korin pointed at the tattoo on Jaeger's neck. Jaeger brightened up and said, "You sure know your stuff. Honestly, my mom did this. She's a tattoo artist, specializes in line work, but since I asked, she did it in an old school style. She's amazing. Do you have any tattoos?" Korin's purpose in bringing this up was just to make friends. He already knew all this from his previous life. Because in his past life, when Jaeger disappeared, his mother came to the academy and said that his tattoos weren't just for looks, but because she worried about her son at the academy. The heart of a parent, indeed. Jaeger continued to boast, "I even have one here. It's a flying carriage symbol of Merkaba Academy." Eventually, the two of them started to get to know each other. Incidentally, Korin also pulled Lark into their group. From a distance, Alicia witnessed this as well. So he rescued his friend who was being bullied. That's great, he seems like a good person. And that was also how Korin made a good impression on Lark. Lark's ability is memory, right? Then I've just found a free skill book. He thought that and flashed a devilish grin. But in Alicia's eyes, the smile looked completely different. He even has a cute smile. What kind of person is he? Most of the academy's facilities are provided free of charge. The coffee here is cheaper than outside, and the dorms are free. Among them, the most recommended facility is the training room. The reason is simple. With this room, even impossible training becomes possible. For example, fighting spirit forms you can't see. That's why Korin was working hard, punching the spirit forms inside the room. His actions didn't shock the second-year students. Look, that first year is using spirit forms to train. Usually you only train with spirit forms in the second term. He must have heard about it and decided to practice. I heard some second years still can't even control wind spirit forms. Meanwhile, in the training room, Korin was getting beaten to a pulp by the spirit form. It seemed this was still too early for him. Then a voice from behind rang out, "So you're a first year." The voice belonged to a burly man. Hearing him, Korin quickly turned around. "Hello, coach. Why are you fighting spirit forms to practice spear techniques? Are you confident you can do it?" "I can." Korin felt a bit anxious. "Why did you suddenly approach me? Are you going to test me or something?" The coach frowned and watched him for a moment, then smiled approvingly. "Good spirit, here I'll give you 10 meal tokens. If you succeed, come find me and I'll reward you." With that, he turned and walked away. Korin exhaled. What a scare, no need to get so worried. A food reward isn't bad, right? Now back to it. All of this conversation was being observed by Mariette. Korin kept pushing himself in training, of course still getting roughed up by the spirit form. While he rested, Mariette came over and handed him a towel to wipe his face. "Is it very hard?" "Yes, I'm tired." "Take a break. You've been working hard, you just need to get used to it. One day you'll do it. Try again next time." Mariette's words left Korin silent. He doesn't get a second chance. Last time there was Park Sihu, they had the player's window, potions, and skill books. But this time there's nothing. That bastard Park Sihu isn't here anymore because you killed him. So now you're on your own. So you have to become the strongest. Thinking that, he thanked Mariette, then threw himself back into training. "First, I have to identify my limits. It might be excessive, but I need to test how my abilities compare to the past." After that, he began to unleash every technique he could currently perform. While training, he thought, "I don't have a strong body nor mana or aura. Information about Park Sihu and the future is useless against monsters and those geniuses. But to face monsters and prodigies, I have to work harder than anyone. It's my only option. Those 3 years won't betray me." After so much effort, Korin finally defeated the spirit form, to Mariette's astonishment. Strong, excellent, those words didn't fit him. Mariette was so stunned she couldn't find words. What she saw was a person of tremendous effort and perseverance. He's incredible, she thought. Korin, meanwhile, enjoyed a few showy seconds in the air before dropping straight to the ground. Mariette hurriedly asked, "Are you okay, Junior?" Korin convulsed and replied, "I overdid it. At least for this body I did." The next day, Mariette appeared before Korin again. Since yesterday, she seemed to be paying more attention to him. "Hello, Junior. Today I'll show you the school's facilities. This is the pride of our school, and over here is..." While she sincerely introduced things, Korin paid no attention. He was thinking about something else. To fight properly, the body matters most. To improve physical condition without relying on Park Sihu's potions, there's only one way. It's to use the commandment, do not ignore the suffering of others. And the target for him to carry this out on was Lark. So Korin edged closer and greeted, "Hey there, want to grab a meal with me?" Having a guy suddenly throw an arm around him like that made Lark a little scared. But when Korin mentioned spellbooks, Lark's expression changed. As for spellbooks, Korin said, simply put, they're skill books, powerful relics that let you gain a spell or trait just by reading. The Merkaba Academy library is as large as the academy itself. It stores and transmits knowledge to future generations. But ignore that nonsense. Actually, this place is used to hide spellbooks. At that, the two began searching through the mountain of books. Fearing Lark might not believe him, Korin embellished a bit. You hide a tree in the forest, right? Lark was a diligent student, a model pupil from a good family. He memorized all kinds of magic and recorded them in his notebook. Of course, no matter how many incantations he knew, using them all was still very difficult. If your rank and mana level are too low, even excellent theory is useless. But if you have a spellbook, that's a different story. After searching for a while, Korin finally found an entrance. The moment he tossed a book down, the shelf behind them shifted, revealing a secret entrance. Lark gaped, I don't understand how this guy found it. Then the two stepped inside together. The passage was gloomy, making Lark a bit nervous. Korin, walking ahead, suddenly stopped and said, Lark, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. You have to do it well. Oh, okay, you want me to help you fight a demon, right? But what do I have to do? But before Lark finished, Korin punched him squarely in the jaw. Looking at his friend knocked out on the floor, Korin revealed a devilish grin. Hey, let's get started. Now his plan truly began. Korin had come to save Lark and to complete a special mission. If he could capture a demon here, he could obtain the hidden vein he desired. But there was one problem. A super strong demon existed here. It was the aberrant demon, Duke Sabantia. Because he was so overpowered, this became an impossible mission. Why can't I catch a normal one and have to catch an aberrant spirit? He was a generalissimo who once commanded the southern forces 800 years ago. His overwhelmingly powerful attacks killed most players as soon as the mission started. Of course, Korin wasn't among them. Because of the restriction cannot see souls, the Duke's attacks had no effect on him. Naturally, he couldn't see the Duke himself either. Those attacks kept passing through Korin's body, leaving the Duke baffled. At that, Korin spoke up, My Lord Duke, sorry, but I can't see you. Why don't you possess this guy's body? Saying that, he picked up Lark's body. It turned out that was his original plan. In this world, there are many different factors. Some turn ordinary people into beasts like vampires or werewolves. One day, Duke Sabantia awakened, became a vampire, and killed his servants. Although he tried to suppress the vampire instincts, he failed. In the end, fearing he would kill his wife and daughter, the Duke moved his entire house elsewhere and shut the city gates to prevent a massacre. He used magic to seal himself into a book, that very spellbook in this library. That's the introduction to the Duke. And now he didn't hesitate to possess Lark's body. As soon as he took control of Lark, he went insane and lunged at Korin. Straight for me, because he's a vampire, did something trigger him and make him go berserk. Watching Lark charge, Korin remained calm. The reason he chose Lark was because when someone like the Duke possesses him, he can unleash the maximum latent power inside. Model student Lark. But a bookworm like him has pitifully low physical strength. That's why when Lark charged, Korin knocked him down with a single punch. I do care for Lark, but this is the optimal strategy to complete the mission. If I kill Lark while he's possessed, I can obtain the highest tier items like the Duke's cloak or the vampire armor. They were all items Park Sihu once used. They will play a major role in what will happen in the future. But you're not that bastard, so you'll do it another way. My Lord Duke, aren't you curious about your wife Duchess Lena and your child Cecilia? Those words actually calmed him down. Then Korin sat down and continued, Let me tell you how they lived after you were sealed. He then began telling him many things. How his wife died after leaving the city and how his daughter became a skilled explorer who traveled the world. How do you feel? Are you satisfied with my answer? Korin said this because he, too, had a family he loved in the world. He wanted this pitiable soul to pass on peacefully. Hearing about his wife and daughter moved him. Sorry for barging in on you, thank you for telling me. To that, Korin just laughed. It's fine, I wasn't really hit. Even if I was, Lark's blow was weak. After that, before he ascended, the two of them talked for a long time. Finally, the rewards Korin received. Handled the remnant soul of the aberrant spirit Duke Sabantia. The spellbook, the book that once contained the Duke's sealed soul. Inside are aberrant powers and charms. If you read it, you can learn them. You have acquired new skills, tenacious warrior and rebirth. Tenacious warrior and rebirth like a fighter who doesn't lose the will to fight. As long as your resolve holds, your body will continue to recover. This is a skill that bastard Park had in the past, but I don't know how much it heals since he was never really injured. Meanwhile, Lark slowly came to. You're awake, don't be happy, a demon spirit just possessed your body. Why does my jaw hurt if I was possessed? That question made Korin jump. I don't know, I guess. Oh my god, if you're going to lie, don't add I guess. Then Korin handed Lark a spellbook. Stop talking and take this, it's a spellbook. What, I can really take it? Lark asked incredulously to make sure. The reason Korin chose Lark was that sometimes he wanted to watch someone strive to earn a reward. Then a notification appeared. Quest, do not ignore the misfortune of the righteous, completed. Duke Sabansha quest difficulty B reward, 80 points, distributed evenly. Details cannot be viewed. The notification stunned Korin. I got 80 points. In this game, each level up grants 5 stat points. That means this number corresponds to leveling up 16 times. I didn't even see a level up notice, so the level reward is only 80 points. Is it compensating for not being able to raise stats directly, but this much experience? What is this? Quest, do not ignore the misfortune of the righteous. Stat points, 40 distributed evenly x2. Korin Locke did not ignore the misfortune of Lark Berman. Stat points, 40 distributed evenly x2. Korin Locke did not ignore the misfortune of Duke Sabansha. The next day in the physical training hall, Mariette was happily handing out potatoes to everyone. Seeing Korin, she ran over to chat. Are you going to capture a spirit form again today? Yes, I believe you can do it, Junior. I'll be cheering for you, she said to Korin with a bright smile. The sight made some jealous upperclassmen grit their teeth. How did Mariette get taken by some first-year 5th-ranked kid? I watched closely but failed yesterday. Don't give him hope. Why is that rookie stealing Mariette's attention? But Mariette remained very confident in the face of their words. Then they opened a betting table. I'll bet 2 gold coins that the junior will succeed. I bet 7 silver that he fails. Such comments kept coming. Korin protested. Why are you all betting on me? I'm just trying to train. Whatever, focus first. I gain stats from helping the Duke ascend, so I can definitely capture it. Still, I don't know how strong I actually am. Let's start with the weakest basic ones. After saying that, he took his stance and performed the giant serpent burst. The technique he used to defeat the spirit form before was the serpent's long strike. Among the Huaza arts, that move is rather difficult, so he used the most basic of basics, the giant serpent burst. Maybe one strike won't even take it down, he thought. Unexpectedly, with a single strike, the spirit form was split apart immediately. The scene left the bettors below gaping. Just one hit. Has the giant serpent burst reached that level? Not only were they surprised, even Korin couldn't believe it. Am I really that strong? Mariette, standing behind him, also came forward to congratulate him. Yesterday you succeeded with 3 moves, right? This time you did it with 1 strike. Her words surprised Korin. What is this? Did she witness everything yesterday? Never mind, more than one mage can spot the Huaza art with the naked eye. What kind of absurd vision is that? While Korin was still thinking, Mariette handed him a pouch of coins. Ah, this is your share. Because of you I earned a little too. Of course you should get a cut. My share, why would I not like that? Of course I like it. Whoever turns down money. His eyes turned into little coins. Mariette, you're really smart. Keep it up in the future. That evening, Korin sat lost in thought. It was the same in my past life. I trained hard to gain some martial skill for myself. It's the same now. I'm close to the 5th step of the 6 steps toward enlightenment. There's a long way to go, but my spear techniques are improving faster than I expected, so I'm not too worried. The problem is ancient incantation magic. At that, Korin wrote a rune in the air. Immediately a notification appeared. You lack mana. This was the issue he was facing. In his previous life, he couldn't fully master it either, because ancient incantation magic requires an enormous amount of mana. If he could train it now, he'd certainly be much stronger than before. I need to think this through. As he headed back to his room, a voice suddenly rang out. The voice made him stop. Korin recognized it. No matter how much he refined his spear arts and mastered ancient incantation magic, the person he couldn't defeat had appeared at this academy. The woman, even Parksy, who couldn't kill one of the strongest forces in the legend of the hero Arhen. The balance breaker, the night demon H. Warren. Korin panicked. Why has she suddenly shown up here? And she's talking to me. I don't know why, but just ignore her and go. I can't handle this ticking bomb. As Korin was about to leave, she spoke again. You have been merged. I don't think you are the rightful owner of that body. Her words turned Korin pale. How does she know I possess that body? Then Korin thought about H. Warren, a body with 2 souls, a human and a fiend coexisting. H. Warren's existence was an affront to nature. People say the yin-yang eye of those on the border of life and death can see the colors of souls. It might be stranger if she didn't notice. H. Warren, her eyes judging, continued, "How was it? What did it feel like to crush and swallow that original soul?" Before her question, Corin answered casually, "I don't know. In my previous life, he was troubled by this too. Are Corin Locke and he really two different people? Are the assimilated memories Corin Locke's and not his own? If so, then who is the I who studied at the boys' high school and the military dynamics program at the boys' college?" That question had plagued him a lot. But H. Warren in front of him was different. She recognized that the body was original, but that the true owner of that body was not Corin. "You're just a thief who stole it. You have no right to govern that body. In a neighborhood near my hometown, there's a guy who turns into a green giant whenever he gets angry. His name is Brooke. Do you know him?" The funny thing is how much those two opposing personalities hate each other. Interesting, right? They're capable, but different. As he spoke, he pointed at his head, actions that left H. Warren puzzled. "Anyway, what I mean is that whether it's the original soul or a newly formed one, both have different personalities. Isn't that how they coexist? Whether they like it or not, we were born into one body. When you're born, no one is guilty." Corin's words left H. Warren momentarily silent. Then she began to speak. "In this world, some people are born already sinful." Corin understood the pain behind her statement. It's just that now this person was far too dangerous to be involved with. After that, he said goodbye to her and turned to leave. The next morning, Corin woke very early. The only reason he left the dorm before the birds started singing was the quest board. Using the various commissions here to level up for upcoming main tasks was necessary for his development progress. But his goal wasn't to level up, so he didn't need to be too picky. Corin just wanted to test something. More importantly, why was Alicia here, and why was she watching so closely? Thinking back, I don't have much information about Alicia from my past life. That bastard Park Sihu killed her, and now my memories differ from what I saw in the game. Standing there too long felt awkward, so Corin called out, "Alicia Aiden." Hearing him, Alicia hurriedly replied, "Hello." She even bowed to show respect. Only then did Corin ask, "You already picked up a quest on the first weekend. Isn't level 2 supposed to mean you don't need to rush for achievements?" "Ah, because I need the money," Alicia answered. Isn't level 2 supported with plenty of activity funds?" At Corin's question, Alicia began to cry. "They said they won't grant me funds because my family's income is in the top 10% of the kingdom." Finally, Corin understood the situation. It was like Korea's scholarship system. The wealthy don't receive support. In short, rich families don't ask the school for money, pay your own way. But sadly for Alicia, her family practiced abandon raising, so she had to earn minimal living expenses herself, no matter how much she begged. Hearing that, Corin knew she was flat broke, so he suggested a quest. "If you need money now, how about the patrol quest? It pays pretty well." At the words "pays well," her face brightened. "Really? Will they accept up to 3 people? Do you want to team up?" "I can't, I have other things to do." He refused because Corin wanted to reserve this precious weekend to do quests that were easy to complete and would raise his stats. So his first quest would be, find a cat named Nabai. Missing cat named Nabai, 2 years old, especially cute, disobedient. Thank you fee, 5,000. Experience points and low rewards. But that didn't matter because his goal was a precept. If he rescued and returned the cat Nabai nearly killed by monsters, he could prevent the owner's misfortune of losing a pet and falling into depression. And as a result, when he completed the quest, a notification appeared. Duty fulfilled. You did not ignore the misfortune of Anna Mar Milan. Difficulty, E reward, 5 points distributed evenly. Seeing the notification, Corin couldn't stop grinning. Great, the precept really works. Even small quests will help me increase many stats. His smile terrified the girl beside him. Next, motivated by the word stats, Corin abandoned scruples and decency, from helping the bullet to sabotaging other people's happiness. But then Corin suddenly remembered a quest even more important than stats. He had even noted it down before leaving today. At the same time, it's some shock. A muscular old man was going berserk. This isn't it either. I've made a sauce from more than 10 ingredients like garlic, carrot, and chili. But the sauce that would satisfy my wish to make fried chicken taste great even when it's cold I still can't make. And while he was still racking his brains, a voice rang out. Add some malt, and your problem will be solved. Ha ha, all right, I'm off. The old man grew puzzled. Where did this lunatic crawl out from? Who in their right mind would add malt? Despite saying that, he added it anyway. Wait, this flavor, this is it. Shouts of joyful exclamation rang out from the building. And this was the task Corin was determined to complete. The world would be chaos without seasoned fried chicken. At that moment, a notification appeared. Duty accomplished. You did not ignore Weiss misfortune. Difficulty, E-reward, 5 points, distributed evenly. The notice made Korin stare. What is this? This still works with the precept. I only wanted to satisfy a personal wish. Wonderful, yes, there's nothing wrong with someone who seasons fried chicken. His smile was villainous by nature. What a waste not to use this smile for a life of crime. While he was grinning like a madman in the street, H. Warren on the rooftop watched everything. Truly a strange human, she thought. At the same time, a gate appeared behind her and a female professor stepped out. You're here. I left you alone because you hadn't left the city, but at least get a permit before going out. But H. Warren paid no attention to the professor's words and simply turned her head. Then she remembered what Korin had told her the day before. Being born isn't a sin, that's a blessing. Another image flashed in her mind. You shouldn't have been born. These two images would represent the knots and turning points in her life. A few days later at the hunting grounds. Today, all the first-year students were gathered here because this place would host their survival skills assessment. At these hunting grounds, if you reach the hut at the far north end of the forest, you will pass. For now, put on the armband matching your rank. You'll need to return it at the hut at the finish point. You'll receive points based on how quickly you reach the finish with that armband, and your reward will correspond to your score. While the professor announced the task, Korin watched. As expected, H. Warren didn't show. Besides, H. Warren isn't allowed to participate in practical assessments. Maybe it's about fairness since she's too out of league. At that moment, someone called him, Korin. The voice was Alicia's. Hearing it, Korin asked her, Alicia, did your quest go well? Yes, thanks to you I earned some living money. Fortunately, it helped. Oh, do you want some candy? I meant to buy it for my sister, but it's too sweet for me. Seeing the candy, Alicia's eyes lit up. What, honey bomb candy? Can I have this precious thing? It's just one candy. A rich girl like you has come to this point. Up above, Professor Josephine declared, the test begins. Then with a crack of her whip, she created a magic array above everyone's heads. Korin was still very impressed by the scene. I've seen countless mages, but using spatial magic for a crowd like this, only Josephine can do that. Still the same as always, Archmaid. After that, he and the others were randomly teleported to spots in the forest. Right after that, the clash of weapons rang out, already fighting just after it started. The hunting grounds are an important event even veterans must repeat countless times. It's a battle royale system where you start at random locations and must seize opponents' armbands to accumulate points. Seeing that crowd brawling while moving through, Korin was delighted. Yes, fight fiercely, I have no interest in you lot. The most dangerous person right now is Alicia level 2, with the blue armband. H. Warren isn't here at the moment. If I take care of Alicia, the rest are basically free points. Alicia, you may not know, but I placed a tracking rune on the candy you ate. That rune will ensure we meet again. Then Korin put on his killer expression. I knew it wouldn't be that easy. For a few points, he had sold his teammates' trust cheap. Saying that, he rocketed over to Alicia. Alicia. Outside, Josephine told the headmaster, I'll go into the forest. Although professors are posted everywhere, better to be careful. Then she suddenly startled and realized something. Wait, thinking about it, where is that child headmaster? Could it be that you didn't bring them, that they came on their own? They came by themselves. Maybe their heart has undergone some change. Poor Korin, still deluding himself that he'd scored an easy target. Little did he know the person he considered most dangerous had been following him all along. Hope the chairman doesn't get wiped out. Meanwhile, in the forest, Alicia was in trouble. Korin wasn't the only one targeting her. Why are you behaving like this? Don't you feel ashamed? So many people attacking me alone. At this moment, a few people lay knocked out at her feet. One of them even admitted, being cowardly is our specialty. Behind her, a man crept up while she wasn't looking and struck. You monster, fold your arms and take it. But the moment he was about to attack, a stone flew from nowhere and hit his waist, staggering him and making him spit out a mouthful of food. When Alicia saw her rescuer was Korin, she was overjoyed. You came to save me, you really are a good person. Alicia is so beautiful, Korin's words left her puzzled. I mean beautiful. That blue armband. As he spoke, he launched his attack, his face turning into that of a typical killer. Alicia was furious to the point of tears. Korin, I trusted you because you gave me the candy, so I thought you were a good person. Alicia is a level 2 knight of a pure martial school. Her special defensive abilities probably aren't yet fully mastered. In terms of combat strength, she's a mid-level 2. So you'll become a good person when you hand over the armband to me. Saying that, Korin gave a threatening smile. Although she didn't match his sister, a true genius, Alicia was still talented, ranked in the top 1%. She'd easily defeated 7 members of the 3rd and 4th year student council. Seeing her, a level 5 knight like Korin had let his guard down. Of course, that was until 30 seconds ago. Alicia frowned at Korin's barrage of attacks. What is this? He's too strong. He closes to very close range, mixes and dodges with long-range strikes. He toys with counters and maintains constant pressure. But that doesn't mean there's no opening. His breathing changes oddly when he switches between thrusts and slashes. If I can catch that distance, I'll have a chance to counter. But she was spun around by Korin like a top. The opening just now was intentionally exposed by Korin. If you rely only on talent and refuse to fight for real, it won't get you anywhere. Then he began to whirl the spear in his hand. This move was called Na, used to suppress an opponent's momentum. After that, he easily pinned Alicia's sword to the ground. He then combined 3 basic techniques into an effective offensive move and a sharp counterattack: Spear Extreme 6 Harmonies, Spear Chaos, and Na Kill. With a single strike, Korin sent Alicia flying dozens of meters. At the same time, Alicia felt the pain from that attack. Luckily, I channeled my energy in time to block the blow. If not, I might have been in mortal danger. Though not overwhelmingly strong or blisteringly fast, the level of refinement in each of his techniques is extraordinary. What the hell is he? Is this the power of a level 5 knight? I've been completely defeated. Next, Korin snatched the armband from Alicia. I'll use it in the right place, he said, flashing a triumphant smile. But just then, sounds of fighting came from behind. Drawing his attention. Then a massive greatsword swung down. Fortunately, Korin managed to block it in time with his spear. Too heavy? That's a sword made of mystic iron, 4 times denser than steel, enhanced with auxiliary magic and effective demonic blade for fighting large monsters. Being hit by this is really hard to defend against. He had to struggle to push the blade back. Then an astonished voice rang out, "What? You blocked the heavy iron sword. Don't toy around, put that armband down and vanish, 5th ranker." The speaker was a young man. Around him, many swords hovered in the air. Korin began to worry. Oh no, I think this guy is Drinwarski. I really don't want to tangle with him. Although he has an overwhelming record of taking on dozens of enemies alone without getting hurt. That relaxed look, it's clear he's definitely different from Alicia. Well, there's no other way. Now that it's come to this, fighting won't do any good. Saying that, he turned and ran. This move left Drin speechless. He hasn't seen this situation before. The thing he's got in his mouth must be green, right? With that, Drin snapped and sent all his floating swords to attack Korin, forcing both Korin and Alicia to flee. Hey, are you crazy? Why is he like that? You usually don't do things that don't make money. And Alicia, why are you running after me? Because I don't want to die, and I don't know the way out. While running, Korin kept thinking carefully. Okay, no fighting if I don't have to, as long as I get this armband away with me. At that moment, Korin was surprised, because right at the hut's doorway, another young man and his golem blocked their path. Well, sorry, to pass you have to leave your rank badge. He was a first-tier golem master, Cranial Ludin. The scene made Alicia incredulous. Coward, I can't believe you blocked the exit. Meanwhile, Korin knew he was in big trouble. In front is Cranial, behind is Drin. Trying to avoid fights with others only to end up facing 2 big names at once. This time, there's really no other way. Saying that, he drew his weapon. Alicia gasped, "What? You're really going to fight both of them at once?" Korin was fairly confident. If a fight is unavoidable, then you have no choice but to face it. With that, they all lunged into battle. By afternoon, the outcome of the fight was clear. At the hut, someone knocked and said, "Oh my, it looks like the champion has arrived. May I ask who's there?" "I'm Korin Locke, may I choose a product?" he said cheerfully, holding 3 green armbands in his mouth. "Oh my, bringing back a green rank badge, what a fine student. Ha ha, it's nothing, I just got lucky." The reason Korin won was his overwhelming skill combined with excellent experience. He slipped through the heavy sword's arcs with his agility before it could deliver full force. After disarming the opponent, he drove the blade into the ground so the enemy couldn't retrieve it. Swords he couldn't block, he dodged, then redirected so those blades targeted the golems. With quick improvisation, he swiftly hid behind Drin, using him as a shield against the golem's attacks. As a result, while Drin held the golem back, he struck at the golem's core and disabled it. Immediately after, Cranial was also out of the fight since he no longer had a golem to control. With agility, judgment, and even determination, he fought like someone who had seen battle 100,000 times. Everything was decided in that brief instant. Perhaps it was experience forged over a long time. He's so young, how can he be this skilled? and watching him, Alicia felt as if she saw her sister's reflection. At that moment, Alicia recalled Korin's words, "Don't rely on talent alone and be lazy about real combat." It seemed she understood that saying more clearly now. After that, Alicia resolved, "I have to work harder too." Over on Drin's side, he looked at his sword and thought, before my power could fully manifest, he quickly found the solution to deal with that brat. How did he spot my weakness? In an instant, that kid knew all my techniques and tricks like the back of his hand. Cranial wasn't doing much better. Against small, fast weapons, a golem is nothing more than a bullet sponge. If I were you, I'd have a companion escort me rather than rely on that golem. Friends, I don't have any, then go find yourself a friend. Korin's words made him furious enough to cry, "That bastard is taunting me." Today there were 3 capable first years, and each of them remembered Korin in their own way. Korin, for his part, was still elated. "That's great, I didn't expect it to go so smoothly." Now, among the remaining participants at the hunting ground, the strongest is considered the one under the forest's protection. Why? But this wasn't limited to ordinary players joining. There was also the Academy's top mate, Mariette Dunlop. She was helping others train by taking on the role of a monster. For why, this was the first time she faced an opponent beyond her limits. Thus the training session at the hunting ground ended. "Are you a new student? Hello, I'm Mariette. Are you Y?" After greeting Y, Mariette turned and asked, "And you over there, what's your name?" Her next opponent was the celestial knight demon H. Warren. At this time, a dozen students clustered at H. Warren's feet, all looking alike. Seeing this, Mariette realized, it seems H. Warren is looking for someone. "Oh my, you're probably looking for someone. You just gather your friends and attack me if you run into me." But H. Warren paid little attention. She swept past Mariette like a gust of wind. This action seemed to irritate Mariette, and immediately a pillar of ice rose up in front of H. Warren. "Excuse me, you can ignore me, but by the rules I'm still a monster, so I can't let you get away with that." H. Warren coldly turned and said, "How annoying," and their battle was about to begin. At the rest tent, total is 117 points. It's been a long time since I've seen a score like this. Can I choose a reward? There are 3 rewards to choose from: a boar-slaying delivery, protective leather armor, and shark bear honey. Of the 3, the most valuable is the shark bear honey. But I came here with a plan already. Then Korin made his choice. "I'll take this, the ginseng seed." Oh, you have an eye for that, as he chose the ginseng seed. He still had 17 points left, so the attendant asked, "What will you do with the remainder?" "With 17 points, please give me these." He held up 2 cards, plant nutrient supplement, 6 points, and earplugs, 10 points. After finishing, he left the rest tent. "Wow, shopping was great. Even if I went 1,000 times, I wouldn't have had such luck. Besides, it's the first time I've seen them complete this trial so often." At that moment, Korin also saw Jaeger and Lark. It seemed they'd partnered up. "Oh, second place and 19 points. I have 15 points. Korin congratulated them. "You 2 worked well together." Jaeger smiled awkwardly. "It was easy today. Want to train together in the gym tonight? If you still have energy to go to the gym, help me find the cores of those golems." This surprised Cranial. "Quite the lucky hit, right? We'll help you, it's fine. But at times like this you should be saying thank you." In his past life, Korin had worked a lot with Cranial. There aren't many heavy-duty meat shields like golems in mid-sized monster fights. Everything was winding down. The results were, second rank mage Cranial Ludin was restoring the golem's core. Second rank knight Alicia Aiden was injured. Second rank knight Drimworski was drained of energy. Second rank mage Y was unconscious. Seeing her sprawled on the ground shocked Korin. How could she be killed here? What are the instructors doing? Her life is so important, they must have just fainted. At this point, Y began to speak weakly. "Mariette, that girl, she..." Before she could finish, a tremor shook the forest. The animals in the woods fled in a panic. Korin still didn't understand what was happening. Y kept murmuring, "Run, Mariette." Mariette possessed a natural gift for analyzing magic and a god-given mana pool, a mage who seemed never to have known disappointment or defeat. Her talent followed in the footsteps of Senior Professor Josephine. As people said, Mariette was truly a genius. To Mariette, the hunting ground was like a playground. She only needed to control the difficulty and help her juniors grow as a senior would. That's how she usually acted, but now she faced the greatest wall of her life. The battle was one-sided, leaning toward H. Warren. When H. Warren lunged to attack, Mariette hastily cast an ice spell, firing shards of ice at H. Warren. But H. Warren didn't care. When the shards struck her, they simply shattered. The sight truly annoyed Mariette. "I can't block an attack with only basic magic. What kind of magic is this?" Although Mariette had promised the senior instructors she wouldn't use offensive magic above intermediate level, In truth, she had begun using high-level spells. In other words, unwilling to admit it, Mariette had started to go all out. Even so, the gap in power was too great. With a single kick, Warren sent her flying miles away. The tree she slammed into was left with a huge dent. "Don't come any closer," Mariette stammered, trembling. She was truly terrified. What stood before her was not a knight, a mage, or a game opponent. It was simply a natural disaster in human form, and now Warren was closing in on her. "Don't come near me," Mariette shouted. In her hand, a sphere of ice had formed, her face more terrified than ever, like the last desperate struggle of a small creature facing a predator. Just then a voice rang out. "That's enough, Warren. Stop." The voice belonged to senior instructor Josephine. She stepped between Mariette and Warren. "Are you all right, Mariette?" Upon realizing the person before her was Professor Josephine, Mariette began to faint. This hunting exercise produced some unexpected result. First, the winner and highest scorer was Corin, a fifth-year student. And the top first-year, Warren, and the top second-year, Mariette, got into a conflict. Hearing this, Corin nearly wet himself. "I thought she'd awakened into some kind of boss, but she looks okay. Guess things are still following the original storyline, huh? Never mind for now, there are still 3 whole weeks before she awakens. I need to prepare a few things." With that thought, he left. A while later, at the edge of the hunting ground forest, Corin came to meet someone who lived here. First, he had to shed a lot of crocodile tears. Next, he had to act it out well. "Oof, I slipped." As he fell, he conveniently tossed the seed into the pond in front of him. What Corin intended is unclear, but the face reflected in the pond looked awful. "No, the precious seed Mom left me. What am I going to do?" A voice suddenly called out, "Why are you crying?" As if his plan had worked, the moment Corin heard the voice, he bared a toothy grin. There he is, in the legend of the hero Arhen. There is a golden test you can use only once: the hermit's golden axe. To the woodcutter who accidentally dropped his iron axe into the pond, the hermit asked whether he had dropped a golden axe or a silver axe. The scene matches that story exactly. A golden axe and a silver axe appear, but only for unique tier weapons or lower. Dropping any other weapon triggers no reaction, so the matter ends there. Corin had tried dropping 500 different items into the hermit's pond. Some veteran players also tried throwing in random items, even rare ones. A golden test the damn developers added while they were bored. "Is this golden seed yours?" "No, sir." "Or is this the silver seed?" "No, sir." As the old man began asking, Corin thought, who would be crazy enough to drop the ginseng seed we worked so hard to get bought for 100 points into the pond? And the crazy hero is me, haha. "Then this must be your seed," the old man said, producing an ordinary seed. Corin's tears streamed. "Yes, that's right, this is definitely mine. Even after seeing gold and silver, you weren't greedy and were honest. I value your honesty and will give you these seeds." So Corin received the golden and silver seeds. The hermit, having completed his task, dove back under the pond. Corin stayed kneeling, telling him to take care of his health. But the moment the hermit submerged, Corin's face twisted into a grin. "Ha ha 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 ha, items can be multiplied. If the old man saw this, he'd demand his stuff back." The regular ginseng seed increases mana, but the golden and silver seeds have very special effects. They're a hidden piece obtainable only this way. In the legend of the hero Arhen, there are some issues with people who hit level cap the day after harvesting, but that's not a major problem. In a past life, Park Sihu ate the golden seed, and I ate the silver seed. But now they're all mine. Seeing the seeds in his hands made Corin grin from ear to ear. Next came an important piece of information. What would make Mariette the first boss and awaken her as a special vampire was a real event happening in 3 weeks. An encounter with the killer vampire of the Mist City, John Doe. Corin didn't know how the demon faction's minion inside Mariette had awakened, but there was still time. That's also why I showed strength to the powerful second-rank players. No one wants to team up with a weak 5th-rank knight, even if you asked. The first thing that draws them to a main player is natural talent and power. Within a week, they'll be fully recovered. At that point, Corin would propose forming a team. The first boss raid of the legend of the hero Arhen, the special vampire Mariette Dunilif. There were still 3 weeks before Mariette's awakening, but that was assuming everything continued according to the original storyline. At this time, Mariette also regained consciousness after the fight with Warren. The roommate next to her hurriedly asked, "Mariette, are you okay? How's your throat?" That first year she should know her limits. You were restricted to basic magic after all. Corin thought to himself, if I have enough preparation, trust, and enough members, I can easily save a girl from her tragic fate. Until then, I'll train Alicia, help Mercenary Adrian control his sword, recruit Y from the Avon Forest, and get closer to the Golem Mage Cranel. Thinking these things, he still felt his plan was perfect. If I prepare well, this will be a piece of cake as long as no variables arise. But a variable did occur. Mariette's awakening process had begun. Her eyes turned red. I'm so thirsty. That was her last line before she devoured her close friend. As for H. Warren, she now recalled her conversation with Professor Josephine. I'm so disappointed in you. If I'd known, I wouldn't have sent you. If you want to learn, I'll tutor you privately. Reflect on yourself. In short, she would now be confined. Should I jump off the building? She muttered to herself when alone. Just then a face poked in through the window. Ha, knew you'd be here. That Korin just stuck his head in like a ghost. It even startled the celestial night demon. You're H. Warren, right? I think I've seen you before. I'm Korin Locke. Can you open the window? Korin said, his legs still dangling on a nearby branch, holding a box of pastries. He then handed the box to H. Warren. Here, for you. I didn't know what you like, so I grabbed this pastry. Besides, it's weird to hand it over empty-handed. H. Warren didn't immediately take it and said, you breaking in is against school rules. But Korin had prepared his response. I didn't come in, I'm hanging from the tree, and I just like being here. I don't think Professor Josephine is around right now. Actually, Korin came in case H. Warren was injured, but she didn't have a single scratch. And it seemed H. Warren was forbidden from going out or meeting others, probably because of what happened at the hunting ground. Understandable, since she's an important person. Josephine's concern made sense, but confining her like this for over 4 days. Thinking that, H. Warren said she went out. Where to? She hasn't come here in over 4 days. This information surprised Korin so much he nearly broke the branch. Then he shouted, what? She never returned even once since then? Yeah. Now realizing the situation looked bad, Korin hurriedly said goodbye to H. Warren. See you later. Next time I'll bring food over for you. Having said that, Korin hurried off. As he walked, he thought, Professor Josephine went out, leaving the most dangerous person at Merkaba Academy, H. Warren. Something's off. The champion fighter of the magic department, Professor Dana, and of the knights department, Professor Fermac Damon, both used to be bodyguards. Now they're rushing around looking for someone. Could it be? With that thought, he ran straight to Mariette's infirmary. At the door, a professor was standing guard and called out, Korin Locke, what's the matter? Your request to see her was denied. To the professor's question, Korin smiled. Oh no, not that. Your guard Kron, 3rd rank, right? Professor Josephine told me to bring you food and drink. With sincere words and a natural expression, Korin's acting was flawless. Sure enough, the guard believed him completely. Ho ho, really? She does look out for her subordinates, and you came prepared? There were too many suspicious details. First, Korin's request to see Mariette was denied. Isabella, who guarded Mariette, was missing. They'd posted guards outside the infirmary. From the start, he felt something was strange. So he had to prepare like this, get the guard to step away for a bit. And as soon as the guard took his first bite of the pastry, his stomach immediately went into violent protest. Seeing this, Korin knew the drug had started to take effect. Oh my, what's wrong? Stomachache? There's a restroom over there. Could you cover for me a moment? I need to use the bathroom, but don't go inside. Yes, go ahead. I definitely won't go in. Stomach pain, and he planned to go leisurely. Unbelievable. Korin then stepped into the room. He still held onto a sliver of hope. No way that's happened, right? There's still a whole month. It's way too early. Please hope my suspicion is wrong. As he thought that, he pulled the blanket off the bed. But the person lying there wasn't Mariette, it was Isabella. Mariette should be lying here, right? Why is it Isabella? Isn't she missing? But when he saw the 2 bite marks on her neck, there was no doubt. This was what the professors were trying to hide. Mariette had awakened as a vampire and become the threat, the first boss. Worse, this happened 3 weeks earlier than the original script. He hadn't prepared jack squat. There was a 4-stage attack strategy to defeat the first boss. Stage 1, quickly deal with waves of monster attacks. Stage 2, restrain her within magic circles, and after gaining the upper hand by dealing damage. Stage 3 would begin. At that point, everyone would have to confront the powerful enemy rampaging in the Blood Realm. Once we defeated that foe, it would shift into its final form and the final stage would start. The focus of the attack strategy was the final form, so sometimes players might not even be needed. If the notable first years of the academy banded together, reaching stage 3 wouldn't be that difficult. But Alicia was injured because of me. Drin's weapon was destroyed, also my fault. Cranel's golem was destroyed and couldn't be restored, yet again my doing. Have I wrecked all the academy's notable first years? This is bad, we're screwed. In the original, after encountering the vampire killer in Mist City, Mariette attacked her roommate and flew into a rage. Then, in my past life after that happened, we waited for Mariette and Isabella, who were then below the dormitory, to quickly deal with things. But Park Sihu deliberately let Mariette escape. But thanks to me, everything's a complete mess now. Alicia has 8 broken bones. Cranel's golem was broken, so he was completely useless. I also thought about Warren, but I couldn't predict how the battle would shift if he joined. So he began assembling every force he could use. In a corner of the training room, he tried to persuade Drin to join. Here's your work registration certificate, mercenary. This job is especially tough. I need you to find and capture someone alive. Are you insane? A mercenary only fights battles they can win. Besides, you broke my sword. Now I only have 2 left. With no other option, Korin played his final card. 20 gold coins. If you still don't trust me, I'll leave this as collateral. What he produced was 100% pure soul dust, nothing mixed in. When Drin heard the pay was 20 gold, his eyes lit up. You're a thoughtful guy. Then a notification popped up. Drinwarski has joined your party. Next, at the library, Korin and Yule were talking. How did you know about that? I thought all the records burned to ash along with the forest. To Yule's question, Korin answered, I once read a book about it. The alphabet you use is Agam, right? You're here to find it, aren't you? If you help me, I'll teach you all of this magic. This was an offer too important for Yule to refuse, so she asked, tell me what I need to do. Thus Korin convinced the next member. Finally, it was these 2 nobodies' turn. This mission will be hard, pay is low, and it's dangerous. We might face an unusually strong demon clan, but if we succeed, we'll gain honor and fame. The 2 small-timers thought it over, then agreed, sounds romantic, sign us up for your team. And so a basic party was formed. A secondary damage dealer, a healer, and a few others, just enough to get through stage 1. That met the minimum requirements. This was the best they could do for now. And that evening, they set out into the woods to search for Mariette. And based on what Park Seo said in the previous life, it seemed Mariette had fled into the forest. And there's only one forest near the academy, the hunting ground forest. Drin in the back wondered, how could they find Mariette? This place is huge. If we search normally, it could take years. Korin answered simply, search. If you search, it might take years. If you don't want to wait, just ask around. It'll come out one way or another. Don't worry, right? He said that to Yule, so you already knew what was going on. Saying that, she drove her staff into the ground and began to murmur, spirits, guide us to her. At that moment, the base of the staff glowed. Jaeger was impressed by the sight. A whole swarm of spirits has gathered. Unfortunately, Korin couldn't see them, but judging by their reactions, countless spirits were answering Yule's call. Did they find Mariette? Korin asked. Yes, but their expressions just turned serious. Look behind you, Korin. Why, what are you all looking at? Where is she? Before Korin could finish asking, a monster attacked him from behind. Luckily, he blocked it with his spear. Then Korin swept his spear in a wide arc and sliced the monster in 2. Damn it, where did you come from? At the same time, a horde of monsters up ahead began charging toward them. Oh my god, Jaeger thought aloud. Did Mariette turn into a monster? Seeing how serious things were, Lark pulled out his spellbook. And Jaeger drew out his hammer. Ha ha, you dare charge head-on at Jaeger? Perfect timing, I was just warming up. Then he rushed forward alone to block the monsters, prompting Korin's worried shout. Jaeger, don't charge ahead, they'll surround you. Take 3 steps back, don't be hasty. Keep hitting them and their numbers will dwindle. Lark, cover the rear. Yule, stay with Lark. Dren, I don't need to tell you, you know what to do, right? Just don't overextend. Korin's command ability surprised everyone. Despite the sudden attack, he showed no sign of panic. He even laid out sensible maneuvers and support. He's not only strong, but has the experience of a captain and a strategist to lead a team. He acts like a leader. Who would have guessed he's only a 5th-rank knight? The Academy's ranking tests must be flawed. Seeing the monsters charging, Jaeger turned to Yule and asked, Hey, I thought Mariette was here. What's going on? I don't see Mariette, only monsters. Yule stammered. The spirit said so, that's all I heard. Lark offered his opinion. Is Mariette controlling them? Monsters don't usually hunt in packs like this, and they seem more aggressive than normal. Korin immediately rejected that. No, Mariette isn't the one pulling their strings. It's not that easy for her. Even if she could control them, this chaotic attack isn't her style. Then why are these monsters attacking us? Drin asked. Neither of those things. Each species of monster has its own hunting instincts. But sometimes they fall into such desperate situations that they forget their nature. For example, something they can't cope with, something that makes them flee when confronted. Korin's words made the mood more serious. And at that moment, the one they were searching for, Mariette, appeared ahead of them. She looked nothing like usual. Her body was wreathed in a red aura, radiating a dangerously intense presence. Korin quickly ordered, prepare to fight. Yule, Lark, fall back. Drin, Jaeger, step back 1 and support me. Looks like you have a plan, so I trust you, my lord. In this crisis, idiot Jaeger still managed a foolish question. You step one, or should I take another step? Ignoring the idiot behind him, Korin said he would take the lead. At that moment, a notification appeared. Commandment 3, I will save the world. Mariette Dunilef. Increase all fate-related stats of Mariette by 50%. Her impact on this world. These reserve parameters are clearly based on the scale of her future impact on the world, not on a one-time event. Another notification popped up. I will save the world. Take the first step to save the world and stop Mariette Dunilef. All right, everyone, let's go. This conflicted with the first commandment. Do not ignore the misfortune of others. Save Mariette Dunilef. Hero Korin Locke, the lucky axis. At that moment, Mariette stood before them, and tears began to fall from her eyes. This left Yule slightly flustered, but it won't change anything, just eliminate her, Drin said. As he spoke, the True-Weight sword came crashing down from the sky. But then, to Drin's surprise, his sword was stopped by a layer of protective barrier. Lark began to explain, it's a blood orb, a creature born from a vampire's blood. I didn't think a newly awakened vampire could have a blood orb with them. Korin reassured everyone, no need to be afraid. It was just born. It hasn't received her blood or mana yet. Without sustenance from its master, it can only block attacks. But Drin began to complain, for a mage like me, facing an opponent with that kind of defense is a big problem. It'll be fine, don't worry. Mariette then acted begone, she shouted in anger. Countless blood orbs flew out to attack them. That's a Wideria spell, Yule, Korin hurriedly told her. On hearing that, Yule began to deploy protective magic. I don't know about other places, but this is the forest, this is my domain. Immediately, a wall of trees rose from the ground, shielding everyone. But the wall wasn't strong enough. The blood orbs were slowly piercing through it. Yule herself was under tremendous strain. Seeing this, Jaeger grew worried. What if that defensive wall breaks? Shut your mouth, Jaeger, what are you saying? Yule kept struggling to maintain the wall. That one attack alone cost me half my mana to sustain the defense. The vampire's poisonous hunting ground effect is affecting me, but I have to hold it so everyone has a chance to attack, she said, glancing at Korin. Korin could tell Yule was at her limit. Hold on a bit longer, I'll finish it in 5 moves, he told her. Can you really do that? Yeah, of course I can. The battle with the vampire Mariette was divided into 4 phases. Phase 1, the monsters around attack the player's party. Phase 2, after defeating the monster horde, Mariette herself enters the fray. You must face her. The most powerful spells are only cast from Phase 2 to Phase 4. In other words, before the final phase arrives, she can't use her full power. It's similar to a game, like in my previous life. Korin turned back and said to Lark, Lark, fall back a bit ahead of Yule. You can only cast basic magic about 2 more times, so take care of yourself. Lark was startled. You plan that far ahead. I get it, good thinking. Once you've used up your mana, run as far as you can. All right, we'll deal with it then. After giving those instructions, Korin started calculating. So far the attacks are wide but not very strong. The real danger is the alchemy spell that will come afterward. At that moment, blood crystals also began to pierce the wall. Korin frowned. She's coming. This is the alchemical freezing spell. When enough crystals accumulate on the wall, they begin to detonate, causing the wall to collapse. At the back, Yule began reciting an incantation. Mother Earth and the nourishment of trees and grain, gods and insects, let the canopy push back the world. With each line she spoke, winds began to rise, signs that the gods were responding. Although I wrote those ancient runes, only a pure-blood Avon can activate them. Although they're similar to ancient runes, they're a system language from another civilization, a secret tongue. You only get access to it after completing Yule's storyline, she who strives to become an Elder Forest Mage. The Elder Forest Mage is nature's favorite. The 1,000-year secret tongue belongs only to those of lineages friendly with the spirits. After the incantation ended, a startling scene unfolded before them. A colossal tree appeared. This was a giant willow man. Even Yule couldn't believe she had just summoned it. Korin thought to himself, yeah, it's a bit of a cheat to help her summon this, but given the situation, there was no other choice. He quickly issued the next command. Jaeger, there's still one living bear owl. Throw it to the willow man. Hurry. A living bear owl, Jaeger exclaimed. Wow, you're clever. There's actually one left. Of course it's still alive. Korin prepared it on purpose while they were busy fighting. Quick, throw it into the willow man's chest. At Korin's word, Jaeger promptly hurled the bear owl straight up. In the moment the bear owl fell into the willow man's chest, it was consumed by a shaft of light. By burning the sacrificial creature inside the willow man's chest, it served as the energy to power the summoning magic animating the figure. Once it had that energy, the giant began to move. With a single swing of its arm, it produced countless explosions. But at the same time, it put enormous strain on Yule. Is this too much for her? It's really tough for her to sustain a summoning like this for minutes on end. Don't stop, Yule. If you stop, everyone will die. I know, I'll try. Next would be the showdown between the Willow Man and Mariette. Facing such a giant opponent, Mariette let out a scream. Then she spawned countless blood spears and fired them straight at the Willow Man. But that wasn't a major problem. The Willow Man wasn't a living being but merely a construct. Holes in it didn't mean death, and in theory, in a fight between fire and ice, fire could never lose. That was Corin's thought. But Mariette produced a giant blood spear that pierced through the Willow Man's chest, and it also extinguished the flame burning inside the construct's chest. The sight left Corin stunned. They're all about to die. When the Willow Man collapsed, Corin realized that conventional knowledge had been completely overturned. This is a special difficulty level Mariette Dunilla. The Willow Man's sudden defeat also affected Yule a bit. Corin urgently told her, fall back. Your mana is gone, staying here won't change anything. Understood, I'm retreating. With that, she vanished in a puff. Only 3 lives remained. Jaeger worried, I wonder if they can do it. Corin had to explain, Mariette used her full area spells, so her magic is weakened now. Do you know what that means? This is our chance to strike. With that, he shot forward like a rocket. The other 2 hurried after him. As they charged, Mariette continuously launched blood spears at them. Fortunately, Corin's group could use their weapons to block them. As the initial attacker, Corin executed Accelerated Link True Weight Sword and hurled it straight at Mariette. Of course, it was still intercepted by the blood orbs. Damn, these blood orbs are tough. This time it was Jaeger's turn. He leapt into the air, spun his hammer, and slammed it down. Take this, he shouted as he swung his hammer hard. It was Jaeger's special attack. Ash of Annihilation. The damage the enemy took would stack many times over. He's really useful. Good thing I recruited him into the team. While Jaeger was celebrating breaking the blood orb, Corin warned, idiot, watch out, right after I praised him. At the same time, Mariette activated Phase 3. At that moment, a vast power erupted from her. The Blood Realm had been initiated. A massive black and red orb appeared in the woods. After the Blood Realm exploded, Jaeger and Dren were knocked to the ground. Only Corin remained standing. Now they're trapped inside this barrier. The pressure is intense, instead of being able only to passively defend before. The blood orbs have absorbed her blood and magic and created this before your eyes. Right now, the blood is slowly forming a werehound. Seeing this, Corin could only sigh. I didn't think I'd be the only one fighting it at this phase. It would have taken at least 3 people back in my past life to handle Phase 3, but now it's just me. Well, it's not a big deal. The outcome will be the same. I'm still the victor. If you're born a normal person, you can tell the difference between beasts and humans. If you truly are human, it's natural to close your eyes in terror when you watch animals desperately fight for their lives. There was a chill and icy breath down my spine, unlike the burning heat in my throat. My throat was drawn to someone's neck. I don't know the name, I bit it. My fangs, which had always been there, tore the skin and reached its vein. The creature trembled. I couldn't tell whether it was the fear before being hunted or a fierce struggle. And it no longer mattered. I no longer felt that blind, eye-closing terror. The whining of pain sounded like piano notes. That warm blood ran onto my tongue, wetting my throat. It ran through my body and warmed my cold skin, until my veins, thought to have stopped flowing, felt like they were expanding again. The name something with a Y, Bella, and the creak of the bed stopped. Only my heartbeat remained, like it would burst. That sound spread through me. The scent of that rich blood both overwhelmed and disgusted me. My body, once full of vitality, felt like it would collapse entirely. Only now did I realize that it wasn't an animal at all. I had committed a crime. I had almost killed my friends as if they were mere animals. No, perhaps even more ruthlessly than that. As soon as Mariette realized she had treated humans like beasts, she clutched her gnawing hunger and fled, until that sun found her. The battle between Corin and the werehound began. The dog man let out a howl, then puckered its mouth and spat out spiked balls of blood toward Corin. You damn dog, how dare you bite a human? Corin shouted as he executed the move 6 Pierce's 4th form, Whirling Sky Return. With a single swing, he sliced all the spiked balls in half. Seeing his attack had no effect, the dogman began to act strangely. He drove his fingers deep into his chest, then clawed fiercely, sending blood spraying everywhere. The streams of blood falling from his body began to form 2 smaller dogs. Corin was irritated when he saw this. If you want to fight one-on-one, fine, but you dare go up against 3 at once. Corin lunged forward, then performed a long slide to dodge the attacks of the 2 dogs. After that, he used the technique 6 Pierce's 5th form, throwing self into the wooden mountain. The spear immediately pierced the foes, shredding the 2 dogs to pieces. Are you giving me bait for a meal? Pretty simple compared to that roar. Anything else? Korin said as he turned to look at the dogman. But the dogman had truly gone mad. Instantly, his figure vanished from Korin's sight. Did he disappear? No, he moved too fast for my eyes to follow, Korin thought. Let me teach you a thing or two, pet. Winning doesn't require a 100-step plan. What matters most is finding the weakness in a single step. At the same time, he anticipated its attack and quickly dodged. This was also his chance to counterattack. Calamity Serpent Intent. Calamity Serpent ascends to heaven, poisonous dragon break. With that one move, he shattered the blood rift and simultaneously brought down the dogman. But he wasn't dead yet and still tried to rise. You choose to protect the one who created you until your last breath, huh? Why would you do that? Just wait, I'll definitely save her, your mother. As he spoke, Korin glanced toward Mariette. She was now entering the final stage. The moment this stage began, Mariette would drive one of the team members into a life-threatening situation. That's why he couldn't remove her bloodthirsty combat effect on his own. Normally, to rescue a team member, the vampire's target, all team members must stand close together and deceive her, making it difficult for her to pick the weakest target. But right now, no one could help. Because of this, Korin gave up attacking and allowed himself to be drained. A notification popped up. Vampiric affliction detected. Mariette Dunileff's stamina and mana are recovering. While Mariette pressed Korin down, sucking his blood like a madwoman, Korin still had time to think. So this is what being drained feels like. I can endure it. I have skills to deal with this. It's all thanks to the skill Resilient Warrior Rebirth. A warrior never loses fighting spirit and always maintains his will. His body will continuously regenerate. This skill would allow Korin to regenerate continuously, so he could withstand things like this. At the same time, he recalled the moment Mariette kindly chatted with everyone while sharing those small potatoes with her delicate hands. Then he gently embraced her and said, "Now take it slow, be careful you don't choke." After draining the blood, Mariette seemed to start regaining consciousness. In the past, the moment Duke Sebansha awakened as a vampire, he drained his servants to death. Even the greatest remaining commander in history couldn't restrain his thirst for blood. It took Park Sihu a month to capture Mariette alive, and because she drank monster blood which tasted no different from seawater, it only made her thirstier. But Mariette never killed anyone. She endured the urges and cravings through her extraordinary will. This is an unnecessary contrivance for a final boss when there's only one weakness. That's why Korin believed that a better ending must exist. At this point, Mariette had regained consciousness. Tears fell from her onto Korin's neck. "Junior, I'm sorry," she kept saying between sobs. Seeing her return to normal, Korin felt relief. No matter how many times I die, whether she's the top witch or even if she's truly a vampire, none of that matters. Maybe I used to judge her like Park Sihu did. But the teachings of the master I met in that world changed me into a different person. The one I always looked down on as just an NPC in a game protected me and told me I was still a child. As the successor, I witnessed his final moments and as his disciple heard his teachings. It'll be fine. Once I'm sure I've grown up a bit, just watch, Park Sihu. I'll choose a different path than you. At that moment, a notification appeared. Mariette Dunileff. Difficulty, S rewards, aura level increased from low to above low. Mana level increased from lowest to low. Gained pain tolerance. 100 points distributed evenly. A few days later, in the special cell created by Professor Josephine, Korin asked Professor Josephine for permission to visit Mariette. Now Korin and Mariette chatted with smiles. "I thought your taste would change, but you actually like potatoes? Are they good, Mariette?" Mariette, chewing a potato, laughed. "Potatoes are always good. No matter how you cook them, they're tasty." "Oh, really?" Korin said, pressing his face close to hers, making Mariette blush. Then she hurriedly shooed him away. "Go over there. I smell awful right now." "So what? When you bit my neck, I hadn't showered either." "Oh, great, Korin. That's not something you say to a girl." After that, Mariette went to sit alone in a corner, withdrawn. Korin sighed at the sight. "Good grief, you don't smell bad. I'm just worried about that girl H. Warren. She's terrifying. I thought I was going to die. I was so scared, but I couldn't do what you did." Those words made Korin think. He had met H. Warren and stirred something in her, changing her resolve and getting her to take part in hunting practice. H. Warren had accidentally encountered Mariette during training, and to fight first-rank mage Mariette, she used her true strength. That provoked Mariette, and the vampire within her awakened. Mariette continued, "How did you manage to pick yourself back up? Why didn't you give up? The spirit vessel too, everyone mocked you, saying you couldn't succeed. but in the end, you did. You're really amazing. Corin felt a little embarrassed by that. It's not that impressive. But I like happy endings, where the good are rewarded and the wicked are punished. Something like that. A cautionary, touching story. You're a good person, you're very good, and you're beautiful too. In short, I like happy endings. Corin said, scratching his chin, so I really want you to be happy. Those words made Mariette flush bright red. Corin had accidentally flirted with her without even realizing it. The two of them were truly cute. Corin, I need to wash up and finish the potatoes. Can you go outside? That was her excuse since her face was burning and she didn't know how to face him. Corin felt awkward. He had only just arrived and was already being shooed away. But with no choice, he said goodbye to Mariette and left with Professor Josephine. Watching Corin go, Mariette silently thanked him. Thank you for comforting me. But I'm not even sure I deserve to be happy. So everything ended with Mariette being temporarily detained. Because that happened, it's hard for things to return to normal immediately. But she'll probably be released soon, since the half-human Warren will soon attend regular school. Even if Mariette awakened and became a half-human, most people wouldn't feel threatened by that. As he was thinking this, a voice rang out. Corin, can you come see me for a moment? The speaker was the principal. Is this the first time we've met alone? How do you feel? I'm fine, sir. What's this about? It's about Mariette's punishment. Those words startled Corin. Her punishment. He hadn't expected Mariette to be punished. So the outcome won't be a good one, Corin panicked. Wait, I can explain. But before he could, the principal continued. It's fine, her punishment has already been decided. Corin didn't give up, but please hear me out. As someone who actually fought her, how could her punishment be decided so hastily, Miss Mariette? While Corin stammered his explanation, the principal burst out laughing. Ha ha, just as expected. Don't worry, there's no punishment. I don't think she's dangerous. I wanted to see the reaction of someone who actually fought her. Now I'm no longer in doubt about my decision. Don't worry, she'll be released soon. We just need to confirm her stability. I've heard other students talk, but I'm curious for details. Even a simple explanation will do. Could you tell me? Hearing this, Corin finally sighed in relief. You gave me a fright earlier. Then he slowly began to explain everything, that Mariette was safe and not a monster. Corin didn't know how much the principal believed, but he made his point very clear. I understand. Thank you for informing me. We'll need to make an official announcement. Of course, we won't disclose all the details. Now that I've heard the details, I must get back to my work. Thank you, Corin. As he spoke, he bowed to Corin at a 90-degree angle in thanks. Thank you for helping us prevent dangers caused by the inexperience and complacency of adults. I'm truly grateful and sorry. If you need anything, I'll try my best to repay you. Iryu Kassar, the Academy's chairman, is very valuable. He is someone who knows his weaknesses and takes on extra responsibility. Recalling what the man had said in his previous life, Corin believed he was a good person. With that in mind, he said, Please raise your head, sir, that's my request. At the same time, in Mariette's cell, she was thinking back to the memory of drawing Corin's blood. The hand patting her back was very soft, and the skin that touched her was warm. Her reason, the part that had vanished, was swept away and washed clean by waves of emotion. As she pushed the cold monster child inside her away and reclaimed her humanity, the only thing she could do was apologize. But now Mariette felt more anguished and constrained than ever. Who am I to demand forgiveness? Is Isabella safe? Because she loved everyone most of all, guilt had worn her down. That was why she didn't resist Professor Josephine's magic, but accepted it and locked herself behind iron bars. But when Corin visited, she put on a different act. In truth, she was exhausted. She's a monster and a demon, an enemy of humanity who could suck others' blood at any moment. But one thing he said chased all her worries away. I mean, I want you to be happy. Those words were the sincerest she'd ever heard. She remembered the image of him throwing himself in to save her someone who had turned into a monster. That powerful moment, Corin's sacrifice and sincerity, made Mariette realize that part of her life would live on forever in memory. A week after Mariette's incident, although there was some turmoil because a few bastards had leaked that Mariette was at the school, the situation calmed quickly since the half-human Warren had enrolled. And even though the paperwork still said Mariette was detained, in reality she had been released. Seeing her return, everyone congratulated her. But Mariette didn't pay attention to that. She was busy scanning the crowd for her close friend Isabella. Isabella isn't here. Not finding her close friend made Mariette very sad. After that, she returned to her room and thought a lot. She must be afraid of me and hate me, right? If I were her, I wouldn't want a friend who bites me. I don't want to stand in the way of others or of Isabella. If that's the case, I need to disappear from this academy. As Mariette sank into those negative thoughts, a knock sounded at the door. This surprised Mariette, who could be visiting at this hour. She began to open the door. Then a figure threw their arms around her. Mariette, are you okay? How are you? It was Isabella. She spoke with tears welling in her eyes. Mariette was stunned. Wait, how are you here? Why shouldn't I come? No, it's not that, but you didn't want to see me. No, that's not it. Finally, Mariette calmed down and asked her friend, aren't you afraid of me? The question startled Isabella a bit. Then she smiled and said, sorry, but I saw everything before I passed out. Your face after you bit me, the face that didn't know what to do and looked ashamed. You know what, Mariette? No matter what happens, I always consider you my friend. So whatever happens, I want you to still see me as your friend, okay? Those words made Mariette burst into tears. Thank you, I thought you would hate me. Hey, you're still feeling guilty. Honestly, I'm feeling fine, but I haven't been discharged yet, so I can't go out right after you were released. If that junior hadn't sneaked me out, she laughed and pointed behind her. Where did that junior go? There was a tall junior behind me a moment ago. Those words froze Mariette because she knew who that junior was. I get it, so he helped me again, Corin. She thought that and covered her face, blushing. So the first part of the story ends here. Everyone gets a happy ending, something that never happened in the previous life. Although a few unexpected things occurred and nothing went according to plan, I actually prefer this ending. Even without a player, the world keeps functioning. Even off-plan, everything still reaches a good conclusion. This moment marks the starting point of a new world. After that, in the following days, Corin's schedule was pretty simple. It revolved around attending classes, lunch, more classes, training, dinner, and training. The reason he trained so hard was because he needed to become even stronger. Given the script rapidly approaching with that girl, he had to train harder. That's why he was lying in the training room. The technique Corin was practicing was Supreme Serpent Art Serpent Ascension. And just as he finished performing that move, a voice sounded. Ooh, I'm impressed. Corin, you're really diligent today. The voice belonged to Mariette. You're back to normal, as if nothing ever happened. All right, since you worked so hard, make sure you eat a lot. I didn't cook much, but finish it all. Saying that, she laid out a pile of pastries, all made from potatoes. Coincidentally, Corin was hungry, so he said, well, I'm hungry too, so I'll eat it all. That made Mariette very happy. But when she saw a little blood remaining on Corin's wrist, she started to drool. Ah, blood. Seeing her odd reaction, Corin asked, what's wrong? Is there something on your face? That made Mariette bashfully look away. Oh no, I accidentally saw blood and started drooling, she thought to herself. You've been drinking blood lately, right? Here. As she spoke, she produced a bag of blood. Fresh blood and packaged blood are a little different, aren't they? It's a bit different, freshness, flavor, and your blood tastes amazing. I just find it strange. At that, she began to fidget awkwardly. It's probably like organic food versus pesticide-sprayed food. Yeah, similar, like frozen meat and fresh meat. Corin thought for a moment and said, so does that mean you've resigned yourself to eating frozen meat for the rest of your life? Sometimes it's okay to drink mine. Those words shocked Mariette. Huh, what? Drink my blood? That made Mariette's face flush. What the hell is your face saying? But Corin kept going. He tilted his neck toward Mariette and said, I can regenerate, so if you're tired of packaged blood, you can come to me. Or are you craving it now? Those words made Mariette even more embarrassed. Don't say things like that. I refuse. I don't want to trouble you. Saying that, she paused and pulled out a vial. Anyway, it might be a bit nauseating, but it's very good for your body. Vampire blood is one of the best magical ingredients. With such a tempting treat, Corin didn't hesitate. He downed the vial of blood immediately without thinking. His action left Mariette a little embarrassed. A few notification windows then appeared. You have absorbed a level 2 elixir. This elixir contains special ingredients. Aura rank has increased by 1. Maximum aura has increased by 500. 10 points have been distributed evenly. After that, Corin's whole body burst with a surge of power. The taste of this isn't pleasant at all, but thanks to drinking it, he's definitely stronger than in his previous life. Great, with this, Corin can begin the scenario with that girl Alicia Aiden. A direct descendant of the famous Aiden sword family and a grade 2 knight, Alicia's life had changed a lot compared to before. After feeling the invisible wall between her and a grade 5 swordsman she met in the hunting grounds, Alicia realized she needed to improve herself further and began to strive for that. Of course, until a few minutes before she found her favorite treat. So many honey pop candies. Yes, Alicia was basically lazy and lacked ambition and had no real interest in swordsmanship. Although her sword talent was nearly genius level, her study attitude was terrible, always earning below average marks. And Alicia was thoroughly satisfied with herself. Here, I don't have to swing my sword 10,000 times a day, the tests are just basic moves, and I don't have to sweat through brutal sparring with the seniors. Besides, my sister isn't here. Just looking at her expression, you could tell how pleased she was. I should enjoy this time. Enjoy what? Korin asked. His question startled Alicia. You haven't been coming to the training room lately, Korin said with a smile, but that remark made Alicia tremble. I've been very busy lately, homework and missions. Hearing that, Korin grinned. I heard that pays well, want to join my party. Hearing that, Alicia wanted to cry. Damn it, why does he keep coming after me? In some ways, Korin made it hard for Alicia to approach him. Standing before him, she felt her lazy habit and neglected talent exposed. The mediocrity of a prodigious swordsman certified as a grade 2 guard knight at a young age, and the granddaughter of a genius swordsman was laid bare. On top of that, Korin's methods were tough. He kept talking about basics. Isn't it normal at our age to pull off a ridiculously cool, deadly move? But when Korin said the two parties would get 2 gold coins and the difficulty was only level 2, her money-loving habit flared up. 2 gold coins. With that I can buy so many clothes and honey pop candies. Let's go. No, we're going midweek, so just prepare your gear. Yes, sir. Oh, and today I'm planning a short mission paying 20 silver. Let's take it together. 20 silver sounds good. At that, Korin was very satisfied. For these factory-farmed chickens who haven't been beaten by society, herding them is extremely easy. This is enough for the scenario. I'm not sure, but by my estimate it's today. Back to Alicia's routine, she liked the patrol missions on the job board. Alicia simply followed the preset route through the city center and checked for issues. Monsters coming near the city were only level 4 or 5 at most. Mid-level monsters rarely appeared, so the chance of trouble was very small. Low work but good pay. Alicia didn't find it strenuous at all. Moreover, whenever she did these kinds of missions, she always received flattery from the people around her, which made her nostrils flare with pride. It was completely different from being at home. At home, she only heard terrible comparisons between her and her genius older sister. The family looks down on me, but am I really that bad? So the two of them completed today's patrol easily. Everyone was safe and happy. That is, unless something else happened. And when I say that, it means something did happen. In the night sky, a flare began to shoot up, drawing everyone's attention. It was the signal from the previous patrol team, Monster Nest, at least rank 2. Alicia was a bit surprised because she couldn't see anything. But the guard beside her explained, because this is a magical flare visible only with the special lenses they're wearing. It's also the patrol guard's secret method. Anyway, let's move out. Those words made Alicia inwardly distressed. If nothing else happens on the patrol, it would end without killing any monsters. But when a spawn event occurs, everyone on duty must join the raid. The worst part was that it happened at the last minute. And that was exactly as Korin predicted. It was a level 2 monster den found by the patrol team ahead, the lair where wolves gathered around a werewolf. Werewolves were monsters Alicia could defeat. Even if poisoned, this time they could take it down easily. But immediately after, they ran into a bigger problem, the appearance of a special monster. A level 1 Dunlahan. Damn it, why is a Dunlahan hanging around here? She thought and unleashed her signature move. Aiden Technique / Frozen Domain Burst. The technique produced an X-shaped sword chi that shot straight at the monster. But then Alicia was surprised by how the monster evaded her strike. It launched itself into the air and slipped through the gaps in the attack. What kind of elasticity is that? Like some sort of invertebrate. Immediately after, the creature's arm turned into a whip, coiling tightly around Alicia. So fast and so experienced, it's at least a level 1 monster. If that's the case, thinking that, she shouted, "Damn it, help me, Korin." The honor of a warrior was the last thing on Alicia's mind now. A few guards nearby announced, "Korin is dealing with another monster." That news made Alicia cry out even more. "Why aren't you here when I need you?" At that moment, the monster launched a finishing attack on Alicia. It terrified her so much she shut her eyes tight. But then nothing happened. Alicia opened her eyes to find both the horse's head and the Dunlahan's head whizzing past her very quickly. Alicia realized someone had saved her. As she stood to thank them, the sword before her looked oddly familiar. Then a voice rang out, "You're still weak, lazy, and complacent as always." When Alicia looked up, it was, as she feared most, the eldest daughter of the famed Aiden sword family, destined to be the next successor, the strongest swordsman of her generation, the one to follow in the genius swordsman's footsteps. Lunia Aiden, who was also Alicia's older sister, a person extremely strict and terrifying. How did it come to this? Her sister's question drained the color from Alicia's face. You saw a done Lahan and didn't retreat. Why didn't you analyze the enemy in front of you? And above all, that stupid way of drawing your sword, who did you copy that from? I'm sorry, no more excuses. The consequences of my actions are entirely my responsibility. Saying anything won't change the situation. Remember that it was my moves that put the soldiers who trusted me in danger. Yes, ma'am. Stand up straight, Lunia said as she flicked her sword toward her sister, forcing Alicia to puff her chest out as much as possible. An Aiden swordsman must always be confident. Yes, sister. And you, she said, looking at Korin. At that moment, Korin was still brandishing his spear. Caught me, just stood there watching Alicia while pretending to be busy. Lunia glared at Korin for a moment and then began to introduce herself. I am the Holy Sword's chief disciple, the first mistress of the heavenly sword Lunia Aiden. Korin bowed and said, I am Langante's eighth disciple Korin Locke, a friend of Alicia. Pleased to meet you. Lunia looked Korin up and down as she assessed him. Right, I get what you mean, but I can't reveal my full abilities. Only 2 people use the spear that way, no one else, just those 2. Over here, when Korin stayed silent, Lunia turned. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. At that moment, another voice called out, Village Chief, we've cleared all the monsters in this area. Those words came from a member of her force, the elite troops of Aiden. They were all grade 2 knights, also called the 5 Swords. They were all at the same rank and above Alicia. Then a girl asked, Mistress, should we pursue the monsters that fled? No need, let's return. Yes, ma'am. Alicia, who had been trying to slink away, was called back. These traveling swordsmen formed groups, commonly called sword guilds. They followed their leader, gathered together, and eventually regarded themselves as a sect. 60 years ago, the sword genius Garant founded a new generation of swordsmen, and as head of the clan at the time, he began spreading martial schools, making Aiden a famed swordsman clan representing the entire continent. At the Aiden Merkaba Sword Village, a small gathering of members was taking place. Authoritarianism, discipline, and an inclination toward organized strength, these traits existed from the start and still linger today. Down below, Alicia began to speak. I am a direct disciple of the grade 2 sword clan Alicia Aiden. Greetings, mistress of the village. The other disciples were sweating with worry. What the hell? Even with a principal direct disciple here, why are you making the junior disciples kneel like that? Above, Lunia sat comfortably, one hand holding papers, the other a pipe, and began, patrol missions, protecting merchants, handling level 4 monsters, what nonsense. There's even a task helping out a cafe. Alicia hurried to explain. Oh, that mission had me wear a uniform and hand out flyers. A friend recommended it. No, I just thought the cafe uniform was cute. It looked nice. She blushed with embarrassment as she said it. Lunia observed Alicia for a moment and said, Pathetic Alicia. I never thought you'd use the clan's guard certification for things like this. Do you want to shame the family? Aren't all these missions just about hunting low-level monsters? Do you think fighting those makes you a hero? Alicia, don't forget human nature doesn't change. Her sister's words left her silent. A little later, Lunia held a private meeting with her 5 swords. Miss, no, she seems fine. Looks like she may have put on weight. Anyway, does nobody know that guy? That guy you mean Korin, he's just a grade 5 knight. Grade 5. Lunia was puzzled. Impossible. Is the Merkaba Academy's level test that unreliable? From what Lunia observed, Korin's gaze was fixed on Alicia the whole time, yet the monsters couldn't touch him. To stay so focused despite fighting distractions, it's as if he has decades of experience. That sensitivity and steadiness only come from hunting skills in real life. And that spear technique, at a glance it seems simple, but to a top female swordsman, she recognized his spear skill as quite solid. The meeting was brief, but she was fairly impressed with that fellow. If that young man sided with my sister, thinking that, she recalled the academy had asked her to visit for an exchange, so she would likely meet him again. Korin was happily visiting with Mariette. Whenever Mariette, nicknamed Senior Potato, came by, she brought lots of things. Right now she had spread out a pile of pastries. These are potato pies. I filled them with minced lamb and baked them. Eat when you're hungry. As soon as Korin took a bite, he noticed something odd. Senior, the lamb tastes, Mariette cheerfully replied. You noticed? It's fresh, just slaughtered today. Professor Josephine asked me to help her butcher the sheep, so I practiced. Hearing that, Korin was moved to tears. Damn, while you live a boring vampire life with frozen blood packs to get by, this is actually delicious. I'm touched, Mariette. Well, is it good? Next time I'll bring beef. Do you like braised oxtail? While she was cheerfully talking, Korin suddenly grabbed her hand. I love it, you're talking about braised oxtail, right? Then it's a promise, I will definitely bring braised oxtail. Anyway, your hands are big, Korin. Rough, sinewy, sturdy, the hands of a vigorous person, really wonderful and strong. She said this as her expression shifted and sweat started to bead. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Mariette." The call startled Mariette, and she hurried toward the voice. "Isabella, hello, have you eaten? Why is your face so red?" "No, I wasn't doing anything. Bye, Corin, see you later." Watching that, Corin could only think, women are really hard to understand. In my previous life, I couldn't even go out once for 3 years because of that Park Sihu. Man, you really can't predict anything. The reason I couldn't date was thanks to that jerk Park. He controlled me too tightly. My current friendships are quite different from my past life. Sometimes Yule brings rare wild mushrooms, then the two of us go to the library and start learning the Agam alphabet. Drin also visits me more than my other friends. He seems to see Corin as a useful companion, so if there's a tough, high-reward quest, he suggests teaming up with me. Normally, Corin is in the same class as those two random guys. Right now, those two were turning pale with fear. Seeing that, Corin hurriedly asked, "What's wrong? What's happening?" "Damn it, there's a monster," one of them said, turning to look back. Behind Corin was H. Warren. "Food, promise." H. Warren could only murmur those words. That body looks like the artist drew two different people, doesn't it? Seeing a familiar face, Corin relaxed. "What's with H. Warren? Well, I guess she might as well be a kind of monster. What promise about food?" Then he remembered something from a month ago. "It seems you did promise to bring H. Warren food, but that was a month ago." She really remembers everything. Corin turned back and told his two buddies, "I can't eat with you today." "It's fine. I suddenly remembered I haven't done my homework." The two muttered and started to leave like they were afraid of ghosts. So Corin had to take H. Warren to a restaurant to keep his food promise. "You look a lot like a cat, so I brought you here. Do you like fish?" At his question, H. Warren was about to shove the whole fish into her mouth. Corin gasped, "Hey, are you crazy? Do you have an invincible throat?" "That's disrespectful to the food," Corin said, "but for H. Warren, food just needs to be chewed and swallowed." "Ha ha, just wait and see," Corin said as he started using chopsticks to separate the fish. "See, now it looks much tastier, right? Instead of just swallowing, you should look with your eyes and smell the aroma." As he spoke, he handed H. Warren a bowl of rice with a slice of fish on top. "That's how you show respect for food." H. Warren's face reddened a little. "Respect." After that, H. Warren began to eat heartily. Watching H. Warren eat, he began thinking, the weapon production phase is more or less set. It's a bit early, but Step 2 will start soon. Step 2 begins the component exam. The idiot Jaeger was complaining, "Because we haven't studied at all. 10 minutes until the test and you're only regretting it now. I told you to study. You should have nagged me more. You should have listened to me." "Hey, Corin, have you studied?" To that question from the two of them, Corin answered confidently, "I don't need to study. What are you gonna do? Pass the class on faith and hope." But Corin already had a plan in mind. Hehehe, sorry, I'm different from you guys. This isn't my first test, so I'll bring out the top-ranked strategy. Up above, the proctor on the podium announced, "The exam begins. You may now turn your papers over." "Shall we get started then?" Corin cheerfully opened his test paper. If the moment of inertia of motion x is y, what value of y is required to perform a motion of 85z? After reading the question, Corin's smile vanished. "Oh shit, what does this even mean?" A while later, the exam ended. Jaeger seemed pretty happy, so he must have done all right. "Knew you'd be like that." "Jaeger, how about you?" Corin asked. To that question, Corin was truly desperate. "Guys, I only know how to write my own name." Corin's answer sheet was blank. Even idiot Jaeger had managed 1 or 2 answers before calling it quits. At that point, Corin remembered, "In my previous life, did I ever study? I just kept researching specialized skills nonstop and didn't learn anything about this world's general knowledge. But it's okay, there's still a way to salvage this." Later, at the festival hall for the pinnacle of coursework, one of the easiest challenges in the game, the department's practical exam was a golden opportunity to rescue the embarrassingly low written score. These component tests were drafted by the professors of the night department, or compiled by visiting seasonal instructors invited from outside. Each team of 15 trainees must face them and demonstrate their abilities. Afterwards, they will be evaluated and given scores by the professors in charge. Since I'm a 5th level knight, the trainer's level certainly won't be high. That's also why you're not too worried yet. Heh, do I get extra points if I beat the trainer? I don't know who it is, but sorry in advance. He apologized in his heart, but his facial expression didn't match. Whoever it is, I'll win and improve my written test score. That's Corin's plan. But at that moment, the crowd started to get noisy. Wait, why is that person? Seeing this, Corin was surprised. What's with this reaction? Who's the trainer? At that moment, a voice rang out. Still all right. We meet again, Korin Locke. What the? Why is she here? Korin thought. The big sister has arrived. This time the president is out of the game. Cut to another corner of the testing ground where the teacher's voice also echoed. Well, today's special guests for the exam are swordsmanship experts from the renowned Arden Sword Academy. Please welcome the 5 Peak Sword Masters. At that invitation, the 5 girls under big sister Elena also stepped forward, moving gently. After all, they're only trainees. Watch out for that swordsman though, he looks strong. Looking across, the trainees realized these 5 girls were no pushovers, so they immediately shouted to attack at once, all charging together. Someone yelled loudly, then the whole lot rushed forward to take the blows. Only the youth Drin remained calm in the back observing. Even though all of them were high-level swordsmen, we have Alicia Arden on our side, so that's 2 level 2s. Our chances of victory are. On this side, the 5 Peak Sword deployed Arden's signature technique. The 5 Peak Swords combined. The 5 of them swung in unison, forging their sword chi together into a cohesive wave that surged straight forward. As a result, the trainees who had just charged hadn't even reached them before that blade of sword chi blew them up into the air. Seeing nothing, what is happening, they shouted from within the dust cloud raised by the technique, and Drin gave his overall assessment. The chance of victory is low. They approached the enemy and fouled their own sight, causing chaos. Their combat experience is too deep. Handling this situation is extremely difficult. So first we have to clear the line of sight, he thought, and Drin began spinning his sword like a propeller overhead, creating a vortex of wind that blew the dust aside. But at that moment, the demonic sword Malia flew in to attack him from behind. Luckily, Drin noticed in time and brought his greatsword up to block the strike. Alicia beside him, seeing this, cried out worriedly, "Drin!" But before she could think further, Jenny's swift blade shot toward her at incredible speed. "Don't get distracted, I'm the opponent for the young lady," she said as she swung her sword, forcing Alicia to hurriedly raise her blade to defend. But it's clear Alicia's combat experience still had many shortcomings against these opponents. With a simple leg sweep, Jenny sent Alicia tumbling to the ground. There are about 10 trainees, probably only 3 of us are enough. Her fighting stance has too many flaws, young lady," she said, then thrust her sword at Alicia again. Luckily, Alicia rolled to the side in time to dodge the blow. Meanwhile, up in the stands, the trainees enthusiastically cheered as they watched the 5 Peak Swords fight so impressively. Wow, as expected, the Arden 5 Peak Swords are the real deal. Their power is terrifying. And from their perspective, the 3 remaining girls with Elena were handling the rest of the trainees. "Hurry up, do something," the commanders yelled, but it was to no avail. "Look, they're all hopeless. Only those 2 still seem to put up a little resistance, at least for now it appears that way." The trainee in the stands glanced at Dren and Alicia and whispered. Turning to Dren, he began to maneuver several swords to charge and attack at once. "See this fire sword, iron sword." Malia opposite grew flustered and said, 2 versus 5 is unfair. Dren's experience isn't inferior to the 5 Peak Swords. When the dust cleared, Malia was overwhelmed by 5 dark blades and he would soon secure victory, while Alicia's battle remained somewhat difficult. "Young lady, you need a lot more training. Do you really see yourself as the heir to the Celestial Peak Sword when your ability is this limited? If this is your true skill, you won't even graduate from the academy. You'd be better off dropping out and going home to learn sword swinging by chasing chickens." Jenny's words riled Alicia. "No, I won't," Alicia shouted, pushing Jenny back. But at that moment her eyes went dim and she collapsed instantly, because she had taken a super fast strike from Jenny. She should have stayed focused until the end of the fight. Still a long way to go," the swift blade sighed as he looked at the young lady before him. Although she opened her eyes to gauge the limits and the space around her, Alicia was helpless against such a powerful opponent. Right, according to the initial plan, Elena Arden's role should have been different, so why did she join Team B's Phase B? Turning to Korin's group, when they realized they'd be paired with Elena, their eyes went wide as saucers. And before they could think, Elena opposite already exuded a dangerous aura and said, "Let's begin. You all think this is a real combat experience? This is an elite class battle." The trainee commanders looked at each other in confusion. Elite what? Elite class battle. A monster that can single-handedly face an entire army, leaving dozens of guards struggling. Even an entire Legion A monster you can hardly defeat, described as an uncontrollable disaster. A monster most guards will never encounter once in their lifetime. Anyone who claims to have seen it is said to be fabricating or exaggerating. But if it's that person, the story changes. Elena Arden can fight those monsters because she is the monster of monsters, and the more our protagonist thought about it, the more the skin on his scalp tingled. And now up front, Elena began her assault. With a single swing, the big sister sent out countless slashes of sword chi tearing forward. The testing ground itself couldn't withstand the force and shattered into who knows how many pieces. Meanwhile, the trainees were blown away like flies before they could react. The luckiest was Korin, because knowing how strong the big sister was, he had sneaked back and hidden behind a stone pillar to avoid being blasted away by the first strike. Truly ruthless, Korin said as he looked at the students sprawled on the ground. And somehow, when Korin glanced to the side, he found that the veteran Yeager had survived the blow, but he was close to peeing himself. That was a near miss. Isn't this test a bit too much, facing such terrifying opponents? Korin relaxed and explained, she's actually merciful. If she meant to use tactics, it's over in 10 seconds. But what's that in his hand? Korin said, looking at the ragged heap beside Yeager. He lifted that bundle of rags and smiled. It's Lack. I brought him along because if I left him, he'd probably die. Looks like he almost did. Turning to Yeager, the big man warned Korin, Korin, you must not pass out. You're too heavy for me to carry. But as soon as he said that, another attack came and knocked the big guy to the ground instantly. And before our protagonist could react, the big sister's voice rang out, even if I wanted to help, you all are too weak. Come out. It's just you and me left, Elena said as she turned her face toward Korin. Korin realized he couldn't run, so he raised both hands in surrender and said, can I forfeit? Take a lower score if you must, but I know you won't do that. This is a chance to face a strong opponent. I don't want to miss fighting you, Elena replied coldly. Her words made Korin rack his brain, wondering if anyone could stand against Elena Arden. In his previous life, Elena and he had fought side by side in many battles. She was the one who gave him the spear and taught him refined combat techniques. It's not an exaggeration to say I learned how to use the spear from her, yet even by the final practice I still couldn't surpass Elena. She was a challenge I had to face. If I wanted to improve, I'd ultimately have to overcome her by my own strength. Thinking that, Korin braced himself and assumed a fighting stance. Seeing Korin muster the courage to face her, Elena praised him without restraint. Good. With that, she lunged at Korin, her face radiating danger. Our protagonist had to exert all his strength to withstand that first strike. What followed was a battle in which Elena continuously attacked and dominated while our protagonist strained to parry her blows. However, he was constantly being pushed back. Only occasionally could he land a counter like the one now, but of course it couldn't possibly hit Elena. She could counter instantaneously, nearly sending Korin to the dust. Then the big sister's blade whipped like a storm, forcing Korin to struggle even harder to defend. Yet the trainees in the stands were astonished to see Korin not felled by a single blow. Who is that? How could he possibly be just a 5th-rank student squire at the academy? A freshman able to go toe-to-toe with Elena Arden? How could that be? Back in the fight, after that high-speed exchange, our protagonist was panting like an ox. He looked exhausted. What a pity, Elena said as she sheathed her sword, sliding the blade back into its scabbard. That's it, it's over. No way, Korin thought, then suddenly realized something and gasped. The domain slash. It was the Arden School's most powerful technique, the assassin's instinct, Korin reflected inwardly. Opposite him, Elena drew her sword and said, let's see how you react. Show me a valid answer with your spear. As she spoke, the big sister unleashed a terrifying aura. Even the rawest trainees could sense how dreadful the next move would be. What is that? Isn't that extremely dangerous? Not just the newcomers, even the professors were sweating. Wait, is she trying to kill that student? Stop the test now. But sadly, they couldn't intervene in time because at that moment both launched their decisive strikes. The Arden sword technique, first strike domain slash. In that instant, the world seemed to stop, but only Elena Arden could move. The blade advanced slowly as if in a slow-motion camera, thrusting the spear directly at Elena's razor-sharp sword and executing the move as fast as possible, Korin thought to himself. But sadly, his body didn't move as he wished. Damn it, my spear won't move. In the frozen world, I couldn't move. I could only perceive the stopped world at certain specific points. When I faced Marietta, it was the same. Is this a coincidence? I can't control movement in this space anymore. No, one more step must be precise, just one more step and it's done. That's all I need, Korin thought as he forced himself to move a little more, and at that moment the two weapons clashed. Then immediately, centered on the two of them, a violent shockwave erupted, blasting everything around. The professors now gaped at the scene, reacting by instinct rather than knowledge. A godlike sense of omnipotence, as if one were the center of the world. You reflexively reacted to my domain. That should be enough. And more. You might need a better spear. Amusingly, your weapon is inferior to the skill you showed. the big sister said as she sheathed her sword and turned to leave. Meanwhile, Corin's spear had been split in two. But just then, Elena suddenly noticed the way Alicia was trembling up front. She glanced back and told Corin, tests and the like don't matter. The reason I didn't avoid this fight was so someone like you could witness my domain. You already know Alicia's talent. There the answer is clear. Lose the battle but achieve the goal, Corin thought joyfully. Up ahead the big sister continued, I'll stay in this city a while longer. I have some business to attend to. But don't interfere with what I have planned for that girl. No matter how you resist, the outcome won't change. Alicia, I won't let you touch her, Elena added, then truly turned and left. Behind her, Corin grinned darkly. Now it's my turn to show her my domain. Elena Arden, you think things will go your way. After Corin and Elena's match ended, the professors finally announced the decision. The judges had reached a unanimous verdict. Trainee Corin Locke received a perfect score in the practical exam. The other trainees who heard this had to agree with the panel, facing Elena Arden and earning a perfect score, and in a one-on-one no less. How is that possible? But at that moment, some skeptical murmurs rose among the professors. Impossible he could stand up to Elena Arden. Could he really be only a fifth-rank knight? The white-haired professor, apparently the highest ranking here, pondered that this student must have once intended to hunt spirits. Meanwhile, Professor Fermack removed his stylish sunglasses and stared at Corin, his expression full of suspicion. Really bizarre. Corin Locke, why did you use that skill? Days passed quickly. A few days later, at some forge, without Elena telling him, Corin already knew he needed a better weapon and walked into the smithy. The shop owner was a burly man. When he saw Corin enter, he asked, "Who are you? The academy never hesitates to provide rare materials. Why are you here?" "You don't need to know," Corin replied calmly, thinking he'd done this many times and didn't bother to explain. "Those ultra-rare materials cost hundreds of gold. Of course, no ordinary player could use them. Normally, you'd use such materials after completing a major quest. However, I had Supreme Soul Dust, a Tier 2 analyzer, and a top-grade silver granite, plus the wholehearted support of the Academy Council. The most powerful weapon to pacify the world, also called the White Spear." Corin beamed as he looked at the spear radiating light before him. The legend, the war spear of the White Knight from the Land of Shadows. Back to Alicia, it seemed she was recalling childhood memories. The deity hadn't stopped. It wasn't dead, so why was that? "I remember the first time I went out. I remember cutting down a level 5 demon and frowning as its organs and blood leaked from its body. But the smell of human blood was different. I recognized it instantly, even though it was my first time. That distinctive smell belonged to a species on the brink of extinction." Back in the present, she sat in a carriage muttering that she had to work again today. Alicia was currently taking a silver wolf hunt contract with a reward of 70 silver coins. But at least it was better than that urgent, grim mission, the emergency task. Hunt the murderer in the Mist City, graduation credit, and an advisory consult opportunity. "I don't want to die," Alicia thought, breaking into a sweat as she looked at the assignment. Still, there were other reasons Alicia chose the werewolf hunt. Where could he be now? She thought that as she glanced at Corin's bloodstained belt. Then a few voices behind them rang out and drew her attention. "A fifth-rank knight? Are they joking? Damn, at my age I'm still babysitting." And the person they were talking about was none other than our protagonist, Corin. Ignoring their gossip, he cheerfully greeted Alicia ahead. "What a coincidence, Alicia." "Ah, Corin, hello," she hurriedly replied. Meeting Alicia there made Corin very happy. The other guards looked displeased. The Guard Association had complained countless times about quota systems and planned to take in penniless trainees. "They probably didn't expect a brat like me to show up, but I'm glad Alicia came along," Corin thought, hastily shaking her hand. That gesture seemed to irk those behind them, their gazes sharpening like lasers, which made our protagonist a bit embarrassed. They wouldn't dare make a move in front of the Saint Knight's granddaughter. "Stop starring. My neck's about to catch fire," Corin thought. Then he cheerfully slung an arm around Alicia and asked, "Anyway, Alicia, how's your eye?" Surprised, she replied, "What are you saying? My eye's fine. You know that's not what I meant." "Did you hear something from my sister?" she said, glancing at Corin, and Corin shrugged and answered, "You could say that." Of course, Elena hadn't said a word to me, Corin thought, then added, "You best hurry. Your sister seems serious. She'll make it impossible for you to ever hold a sword again." "That's why I could give up the path of a swordsman," Alicia muttered, seemingly the words the big sister had told her. Corin fell silent after hearing that, thinking, who knows, I didn't expect you'd manage it, I'm sure of it. The mission proceeded smoothly. There were 2 werewolves and over 20 ordinary wolves in the den. The hunt team skillfully handled the werewolves and even captured one. But then something unexpected happened. As the group prepared to pack up and return, a fog suddenly rolled in around them. Then countless strange monsters attacked the party. "Why are there so many of them? Where did they come from? What's with this fog?" someone shouted. At that moment, someone remembered Korin and hurriedly said to his companion, "Hansen, what about that dumb kid?" "I don't know. Now's not the time to worry about him," Hansen snapped. Then they turned to watch Alicia, who was slaughtering frantically up ahead. Fortunately, Miss Aiden was doing her job very well. Before they could deal with all those monsters, another wave arrived. "Where are these coming from? Demons? Evil spirits? This area shouldn't have this many evil spirits, and there are even fiends." Looking at the evil spirits, Alicia grew worried. "In remote, sparsely populated areas there can't be demons. This is artificial. These are manufactured evil spirits." As Alicia thought that, a massive shadow began to emerge from the fog behind her. Seeing it, she intended to turn and greet it. But before she could speak, the figure ahead let out a roar and swung its axe violently toward Alicia, forcing her to strain to block it. "Too strong. That's not an evil spirit, it's a knight," she thought, then shouted. "Why are you attacking us? How rude. Back off now," Alicia shouted angrily. While she was busy dealing with the knight in front of her, a shout sounded from behind her, causing her to start and turn her head to look back. But it was too late, because immediately after, the knight behind her swung a maul in a sneak attack, throwing her off balance and sending her tumbling forward. The knight in front also seized the opportunity. He raised his axe high, preparing to deliver a chopping blow. Just at the moment, Alicia thought she was done for. The killing instinct inside her awakened. Like an automatic defense mechanism, before she could fully register what was happening, her body moved on its own and sliced the forward attacker into pieces. The sight of the mangled corpse before her, blood splattering everywhere, turned Alicia's face pale. "This smell, human blood, it's different. I. Behind her, the remaining knight saw Alicia in a dazed state and charged to attack again. But before its intent could succeed, a spear pierced its head and a voice rang out. "What are you doing? It's not a real person." Hearing this, Alicia on the other side hurriedly turned toward the sound and blankly said, "Korin." From her view, it seemed Korin had thrown his spear and saved her from disaster. Returning to the matter at hand, Alicia asked, "Why do you say it's not a real person?" Korin slowly explained, "Their bodies are moved by dark magic." As he spoke, he casually plucked the head off the nearby knight and thought. The main event of Act 2 is taking down the killer in Mist City. In the original scene, a group of players must track down a crazed serial killer that Mariette defeated at the end of Act 1. And if you pick the werewolf hunting quest in those events, the killer Jian Ro will be discovered and eventually escorted away after a battle, Korin thought to himself. Meanwhile, the rest of the hunting party hurried over to check. "Alicia, are you okay?" But Alicia barely paid attention because she was staring at something ahead and cried out, "Over there." At her words, everyone turned their eyes that way, and in front of them a dark shape hovered in midair. "What is that?" someone shouted in amazement. Alicia gripped her sword and prepared to charge in to intercept, but Korin beside her stopped her. "It's okay, get ready to run." Then he gave his spear everything and hurled it forward, piercing the dark shape through the center instantly. The whole body was then dragged backward and impaled on a nearby tree. "As expected, Korin, you're amazing," Alicia said joyfully. The rest of the team stared at the dark shape nailed above them in shock. "What the hell? It died in one strike that week." "Obviously not. If it had died here, the boss wouldn't have a way to trigger its opening move. Based on Jian Ro's basic character setup, I couldn't take him down alone. The issue isn't raw power or combined abilities, he's a master of concealment." As Korin thought that, the dark shape's eyes flared and a voice spoke. "Well done, you destroyed my puppet. That's enough for today. I hope we meet again." Saying that, the dark form began to spew red smoke from its body and everyone hastily backed away. "What the hell is that? What's that smoke?" Facing Korin, the scene didn't shock him much. That smoke is called Fire Night. When the summoner of the haze and necromancer drops their life points to 0, the haze will dissipate automatically. What I just crushed was only a puppet, the thing that created the fog a revenant made from a necromancer's corpse. The reason that guy was so hard to catch is because he used puppets to scramble information. You can't find that wraith because he's merged himself into the haze. Thinking that, Korin immediately turned and ran, warning everyone, "Let's go, that fog looks really dangerous." "Yeah, got it, run, everyone." At that moment, Alicia glanced back and asked Korin, "Aren't you going to retrieve the spear? I thought it was expensive." "It's fine, it'll return to my hand on its own," Korin replied calmly. And just as he said, the ancient recall rune carved on the spear ahead activated. Right after that, the spear automatically came back into his hand. But just as everyone was sprinting away, a shout rose from behind them, catching both their attention. "Chaklai," someone yelled. The man grit his teeth and said, I'm caught in vine ropes. Seeing that, Korin and Alicia hurried over to rescue him. "Grab my hand," Alicia said, reaching toward him. "Ah, thank you." "Ah, over there," Chaklai cried when he saw a giant hand reaching straight for Alicia. Then it seized her and pulled her back. "Damn it, what a pain," Korin thought, then quickly told the young man beside him. "Chaklai, get up and run, get out of this forest, don't worry about us, and lend me your cloak." Saying that, he snatched the youth's cloak and charged straight toward the smoke ahead. "I didn't expect I'd have to do this a second time. I was trapped inside that haze before. Back then my ankle was sprained, and within less than a minute I came closer to death than ever. Now that I've been reborn, I have to buy more time. But the problem is Alicia," Korin thought as he looked at her. Right now she was struggling to fend off the hands lunging at her. But it didn't seem very effective. She was already soaked in blood. Alicia won't hold out much longer, Korin thought. Facing Alicia, though surrounded by those arms, she refused to give up and kept unleashing countless sword energy strikes wildly forward. "If I cut through all of these, that should be enough. But why aren't they severing? Is it because I'm weak or my stance is wrong? Oh no, is it just because I'm weak? I'm sorry, I also want to save someone in a cool way like you. Someone saved my life, I want to become someone to be proud of." And just as she was about to give up, a call Alicia made her startle and look up. In her line of sight, someone carrying a spear was running straight toward her. Could that voice belong to my savior? 24808. What now? She looked at Alicia, then at Korin. He was already approaching Alicia and hurriedly asked, "Alicia, are you okay?" Alicia, hearing that, began to sob. Korin, I can't get it to let go. Please save me. At this rate, I'll die." Seeing that, Korin threw his cloak over her and began to instruct. "Calm down, Alicia Aiden. Random slashing won't work. Focus and strike hard. Just stay calm," Korin said as he picked up the sword at their feet and placed it into Alicia's hand. Then he turned to face the swarming undead ahead and said, "From now on, I'll protect you from the undead. You know what you need to do, right?" Alicia, still crying, said, "No, I can't. My strength isn't enough. The fog is hurting me and making me dizzy. You can do it. Among the swordsmen I know, you have exceptional talent, and if you set your mind to it, you can definitely do it." "Just one step, Alicia Aiden. One step is enough," Korin said with complete confidence, and his words seemed to calm the third girl down a little. Then, not giving Alicia time to think, Korin charged straight at the undead and called back, "Thank you in advance." Turning to Alicia, she was a jumble of thoughts. "I can't hold out here any longer. Then how can someone with a lower aura rank than me like you endure this? If you put it that way to me, I have no choice but to make it work." With that thought, she gritted her teeth and took a posture to draw her sword. That technique can cut through anything. To use it, I have to awaken the realm-seeing a cursed ability that forces the user to see other domains. At this moment, Alicia was in a state of absolute focus. "Just one step, Alicia Aiden. One step is enough," she told herself, then stepped forward one pace. Aiden family technique, Aiden first sword art, domain cleave. At that instant, Alicia tightened her grip on the sword and a flash of light erupted. And that radiance sliced through everything, even the entire mass of undead and the trees ahead. "How can you see?" the undead screamed. It seemed he was Jianro. Viewed from above, a large section of the forest had been sheared away by that domain cleave. The fog that had been covering the area was also blown apart by the attack. Down below, the hunters, seeing the fog dissipate, hurried back and asked, "The haze is gone. Hey, are you all right? What happened?" At that, they also noticed the body split in two below and shouted, "Oh, that's Jian the vampire killer from Mist City. Oh my god, the forest's been cut in half. How could a person do that? I've heard of this move, so this is the legendary domain cleave of the Sword Emperor," they said in awe. Korin beside them was so surprised his mouth hung open. "I thought she'd use the third form of single cleave or iron tide. How did she manage to use that technique already?" Contrasting Korin's bewilderment, Alicia opposite him was ecstatic. "Korin, I did it. I really did it," she said happily. "Wait, stop. Now isn't the time for you to be able to use that move," he worried. And just as Korin predicted, the hunters began to gossip. "Oh, so does that mean the next head of the Aiden family will be her?" "Exactly, because no one but the Sword Emperor can use domain cleave, except that girl. Alicia Aiden, the future of the Aiden family, the Sword Emperor successor Alicia Aiden." The crowd began to cheer. Alicia, seeing this, flared her nostrils in excitement. From then on, in the days that followed, news about Alicia spread everywhere. Daily bulletin, hot news, Jian has been defeated. The Nightmare Hayes, the notorious serial killer who slew dozens of knights Jian Ro, has been defeated by the candidate for the next head of the famed Aiden sword family. The beautiful knight has defeated a first-tier dark mage. Who is Alicia Aiden? The Aiden family's foundations are trembling. Sword Emperor Garant remains silent. Rewards for Alicia Aiden's outstanding performance. What will happen to the Aiden family's succession structure? Will the heir change? The Aiden family's organizations and businesses are in turmoil. Martial officials are baffled. An exclusive interview with an insider. Actually, Alicia Aiden is the true genius of the Aiden family. At last I can say this with confidence. Blah blah blah. In short, all sorts of praise-filled news about Alicia began to appear. This even made the leader of the Five-Hall Sword burst with anger. She tore the paper in her hands and snarled. "How arrogant, get rid of this," she said, tossing the paper to someone beside her. Meanwhile, the person most directly affected by this, eldest sister Lunia, remained calm as if nothing had happened. The renowned Aiden sword family operates like a martial order and acts on the basis of strength. Under the commanding presence of Garant Aiden, they had been awaiting a swordsman to succeed him. Domain Cleave, it exists at the Mind Dao realm, a level most warriors don't know about. Garant Aiden had long been waiting for someone who could inherit his legacy. Lunia she trained until she bled and sweated. The calluses on her hands are proof of her life. Yet even Lunia, hailed as the genius of her generation, could not satisfy the Sword Emperor. But Lunia's younger sister, who had only recently picked up a sword and sparred with her elder, the illegitimate child the head brought in from outside, Lunia had never regarded that child as a rival. And that was her mistake. In a brief instant, Lunia recognized that Alicia's state was extraordinarily unusual. And before she could react, she was cut down. "You can't staunch the bleeding, that's not a risky move. How did this happen?" People shouted in alarm. Meanwhile, Lunia, lying below, paid no heed to her wound. Her face was dazed. "When I was defeated, I couldn't see that move." "No, it's correct that I couldn't see it. The moment that child focused, I was already struck. The problem isn't speed, it's something else entirely, the domain, that deep path of martial Dao." Alicia took a step into it. "How is that possible? The child is so young and lazy to boot." Surely the girl is in shock, but I understand the title he told me about. "The twisted nature mortals cannot comprehend, Sword Demon, a demonic talent," Lunia thought as she stared at Alicia's twisted, half-laughing, half-crying face. At that moment, Garant approached, patted Alicia's head, and said, "I will appoint Alicia as the candidate for the next family head." And so, Alicia Aiden became the Aiden family heir candidate, despite everyone's objections. The gesture of patting the half-sibling who grew up neglected by the family would linger in memory. Nearby, the girls of the Five-Hall Sword, seeing Lunia deep in thought, asked, "Mistress, are you all right?" "They're worried about me," Lunia thought, then said, "Don't worry, I want that girl to step into the domain too. Because if I can see that sword technique once more, maybe I can step into it myself." With that thought, the eldest sister made a decision and said, "Everyone, prepare to challenge the sword way." Turning to Alicia, Corin came to visit her. "When do you think you'll recover?" "Oh, they said if I apply medicine to the wound I'll be fine in a day or two." "Corin, do you want a popping honey candy?" Alicia asked with a smile. Her carefree attitude put Corin more at ease. "Gosh, you really are relaxed. By the way, that move, Domain Cleave, how did you pull it off? Even if the realm-seeing eye let you see the domain, that doesn't mean you can use it right away," Corin said as he tossed a candy. And Alicia, embarrassed, answered, "You believed I could do it." "Hee, I didn't expect that if I tried I really could." Corin beside her, hearing that, exploded. "Oh, you're a genius who doesn't have to try at all." Just then, a voice rang out from outside the door. "I'm here to visit the patient. It's me, Junior. Are you all right?" The visitor was none other than Mariette. Her arrival surprised Corin a bit. "Ah, Senior Mariette." Mariette looked at Alicia and introduced herself. "Oh, hello, I'm Mariette Duniliff, second-year magic department." "Hello, I'm Alicia Aiden, first-year cavalry department." Turning to Corin, he glanced at Mariette and asked, "You came to visit her?" "Yeah, I was worried about her." It was unclear whether she meant Corin or Alicia. But immediately her expression changed 180 degrees and she asked, "So are you too close? Why do you ask? Why does your expression suddenly look so scary?" Then there was a knock at the window from outside. "What now?" Corin said wearily. In response, H. Warren poked his head in like a ghost and said, "Food, the live fish from earlier." "Oh my goodness," Corin cried out in surprise. But then he noticed the worried look on the Potato Senior's face and thought, Mariette is uncomfortable standing in front of H. Warren, but I think anyone would feel uneasy seeing that appearance. Unfortunately, Corin overthought it because Mariette then clasped her hands and forced a smile at Corin. "Food, you also ate with H. Warren?" What? That's what makes you uncomfortable. Korin thought to himself and said, don't worry, I also prepared a really delicious meal for you. A delicious meal, Mariette said happily. As for Korin, he stroked his chin and realized something. Wait, today all these talented people happen to meet. With members like these, I can pull that off. Having thought that, our protagonist told Alicia some bad news. Alicia, the rumor that you inherited domain cleave has spread out, so Lunia will definitely come to challenge the sword way soon. Are you confident? Alicia jumped and stammered. Challenge the sword way. Speaking of the challenge of the sword way, it's a swordsman's tradition, carried out by 5 grand master-level swordsmen to test the head who has taken charge of a branch of the family. Or at least that's the pretext. For a long time, the Aiden family has used the Swordway challenge to legally eliminate rivals. Back to the story, when Alicia learned she was about to be challenged, she wailed, confident, if I fight her I'll die. No, from the start I couldn't beat the 5 swords. Korin beside her spoke up, I have a good plan. What is it? I'll tell you, but on one condition. I promise I'll do anything. What is it? Alicia hurriedly said. Korin looked at her coldly and said, from now on, if I suggest fighting monsters or training in the gym, you must follow without complaints. Basically, you're a permanent member of my team now. Okay, I promise I'll obey, so please help me, Alicia cried. Good, I'll take your promise as an oath. Korin walked through the hardships of this time, whether short or long, and the truths I've learned through my own flesh and blood will help you get through the challenge. Cut to the evening, the leader girl of the 5-hall sword was walking along the road, when suddenly a knife flew past her face, making her scream in anger. What the hell is this? Who did that? She said, turning to the side. Then a voice rang out, Challenger. The leader, having clearly seen the attacker's figure, was surprised. Student H. Warren. While she was still stunned, H. Warren introduced himself. I, Alicia Studio, master of blade technique. After saying that, she immediately lunged to attack. This left her opponent a bit confused. Blade technique? What are you talking about? Why are you doing this all of a sudden? He said if he caught you, he'd buy me sushi. H. Warren replied calmly. At the same time, somewhere else on campus, Korin was fighting another girl from the 5-hall sword. What is this about? What are you doing? She growled as she defended against Korin's flurry of attacks. Alicia Studio, master of the blade pole technique. Korin locked. I want to learn from the famous sword master Lunia, Korin said, pulling a villainous face and rushing in like a madman. Strike before you're struck, that's the truth of life, he told himself. Alicia Dojo, master of the blade pole technique. Korin locked. Alicia Dojo, master of fist arts. H. Warren. Alicia Dojo, master of flying sword technique. Drin Warski. Alicia Dojo, talented mage. Mariette Dunilef. The new commander of Alicia Dojo, Alicia Arden. The Arden family's 5 peak swords have been defeated, and now. Lena, the sword master, also looked at Korin and asked, why would you do that? Facing her question, Korin smiled slyly. To develop a new dojo like ours, we need to raise our reputation, right? We're trying to expand aggressively. And the next day, news of the 5 peak swords defeat made the papers the Merkaba Daily. Arden's new dojo defeated the 5 peak swords of the masters from an anonymous report. This photo shows blah blah blah, the first steps of the new dojo, beating the 5 swords, gaining attention in the guild for its innovative dojo management. Would the Arden clan accept this? By family rules, there's something called the sword trial, a test to choose branch leaders, but even I know it's a way to crush other rivals. That's why Korin said he'd change this operational structure by joining the dojo's trial and sequentially beating the 5 swords under the dojo's challenge format. What I ultimately want is a one-on-one match with my sister. If I win and announce it, her people won't be able to touch me. That's why I started this. Registration fees for the dojo, operating costs, mercenary wages, Mariette covered it all. Once we get the bounty from that vampire assassin mission, I can quickly pay her back. Back to Lunia, she turned to Alicia beside her and said, interesting. Stupid, if you wanted to run, you should have fled the moment you saw me. The idea for the dojo challenge wasn't yours, right? She's too sharp. So terrifying, Alicia cried inwardly, and that terrified look made Lunia realize immediately. Judging by your expression, I must be right, it was Korin's idea, wasn't it? Right after she said this, Korin from behind cheered Alicia on. Alicia, do you have something to say? Could I really beat her? Alicia wondered to herself, then spoke up. The first sword technician of the masters, Lunia Arden. As the new head of the Arden dojo, I want to duel you one-on-one. Lunia on the opposite side replied coldly, fine, a one-on-one duel, but a warning. I won't use a practice sword or any non-lethal weapon. I am ready, Alicia said nervously. The first sword technician Arden. A disciple of Lunia Arden and the first sword Arden, the second sword master, Alicia Arden. It's time for the sisters' battle to begin. Beside them, Mariette looked at the pair and thought, even if I go all out after transforming into a vampire, Lunia is still an opponent I'm not sure I could beat. Thinking that, she worried for Alicia and turned to ask Corin, is Alicia really ready for this? I trust her. Alicia can handle it. Yeah, then I trust you at most. Mariette's level of trust in Corin remained unchanged. Turning back, Lunia tossed Corin a pouch of coins and said, take it. What's this? Repair costs in a fight like this are too high, Corin said in surprise. No, this is the operational restructuring fee, she said. With that, the elder sister officially launched her attack. It was impossible to tell what technique the elder sister was using to attack. Moments later, she cleaved the entire building in two, to the horrified stares of Corin and Mariette. Strangely, Alicia had managed to block that assault. I really admire Lunia for how her passion for swordsmanship still blazes. She's my idol, like a hero stepped out of a fairy tale, a champion like Garand Arden, the figures from the stories that shaped my childhood. Compared to her, I'm just the daughter of a concubine. My mother died giving birth to me and my father treated me like a stain. To him, the only thing of value was the bloodline of the great sword King Garand Arden. Back then, their relationship was very good. Whenever she returned from a long trip, she would always pat my head. But the day I first cut someone, everything went wrong. Back in the present, a halo now enveloped the blade of her sword. Meanwhile, Alicia on the opposite side was plotting her opening move. She stepped 1 foot back and swiftly slashed the sword forward. As she thought it, she executed the exact motions she had planned, and immediately her blade successfully repelled Lunia's attack. She was following precisely what she'd learned from the books. Although adept at offensive techniques, unexpectedly she fought defensively. On the opposite side, Lunia unleashed an extremely powerful strike. It knocked Alicia back. Her footwork remained as sloppy as ever. Coward, Lunia said. Alicia stayed remarkably calm, observing her opponent and using movement speed to unsettle her and attack at close range. With that in mind, she used superhuman speed, moved in a zigzag, closed from behind Lunia, and then immediately launched the third upper sword form, the Dragon Cleave. But unfortunately, her blade hadn't yet touched Lunia before Lunia spotted it. Lunia instantly countered with a breaking move, the blow nearly defeating Alicia. Right after that, Alicia let out a shout and charged forward. She grabbed Lunia in a bear hug, seemingly attempting a throw to take Lunia down. But with elite skill, the elder sister easily was able to nullify Alicia's attempt. Then she surged forward and kicked her younger sister in the face. Idiot, you think you can beat me with those little tricks. As she spoke, she swung her sword and attacked again, forcing Alicia to struggle to parry. But shortly after, the girl began to rise and counterattack. Everything was exactly like Corin said. If that's the case, I have a chance too. Alicia thought as she launched a flurry of breaking strikes straight forward, but it still wasn't enough to take Lunia down. Whoa, I can still counter well even though that move nearly knocked me down. She probably won't hold back now. You fight well, but you're still green, Lunia said, then used her long legs to kick Alicia hard backward. The blow made Alicia's face contort in pain. But before she could think much more, the one opposite lunged into attack immediately. Seeing this, Alicia could only grit her teeth and raise the sword in her hands to block. By some miraculous means, Alicia even managed to counter, but sadly it still wasn't fast enough to reach Lunia. And right after she ducked to dodge, Lunia swung the sword again. However, her blade was stopped by Alicia. At this moment, the elder sister began to notice something. The younger one was keeping up with her speed. Not only that, Alicia was even seeing into her territory. Of course, this is the sibling I wanted to see. I want to see the true nature you denied, all the talent you possess, Lunia thought as she swept Alicia back with her sword. After a sustained, intense fight, Alicia's stamina plummeted. Alicia herself noticed this, and it seemed she was preparing to unleash a decisive move as she began to sheath her sword. Meanwhile, Lunia across from her understood this too. It seemed Alicia realized victory wasn't so far off but very near. All right, then I'll respond, come on, Alicia, Lunia thought as she took a stance to draw her sword. And Alicia opposite assumed an identical stance. It looked like both were about to unleash the same ultimate move. And as if by telepathy, the two rushed toward each other at the same time. And at that critical moment, Alicia began to recall. What she's been pursuing is her sister. Sister, today was the first time I learned swordsmanship. You know, one day I wanted to become a swordswoman as skilled as you. But now I'm not even sure anymore. Alicia gritted her teeth fiercely. And then, in the focused gaze of both, the two blades clashed. The territory-cleaving strike was used. And immediately after, a huge explosion occurred at the center between them. Mariette, watching nearby, murmured, "Is it over already? The victor has been decided."